Hello everybody and welcome back to Beyond the Veil. Now I know what you're probably thinking, where's the creepy church bells and the overly dramatic intro music thing? Well, that's because this is just a quick announcement to make sure that you stay tuned to the very end of this episode, because we believe we may have captured paranormal activity during the recording of this next incredible episode. So make sure you stay tuned to all of it. I'll catch up with you real soon. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us once again, Beyond the Veil. I'm Brett Rogers, and as always, I'm joined by Lee Wise.
Good evening.
And firstly, Happy New Year to all our listeners. We hope you all had an incredible Christmas and saw the new year in whatever way you enjoy to do so. But as we begin 2026, we hope you are ready for a year of scares as we start off the new year with a truly extraordinary episode for you. He didn't believe in ghosts until he bought a house that refused to let him forget they exist. Tonight, he tells us how living in a house for over 20 years has changed him. We're coming to you from inside the infamous number 333, a seemingly ordinary home nestled in the quiet suburbs of Sheffield, UK, but one with a far darker story to tell. This is the property which inspired the chilling books The Lady in the Bay Window and The Lady in the Bay Window 2. Two incredible books of true stories of living in this extraordinary haunted house. And joining us to uncover its secrets is the author himself, William C. Graves, or better known as Liam.
Hello, gentlemen. Thanks for coming and seeing me.
No, honestly, thank you so much for joining us, and more importantly, accepting us our invite to interview you and
That's quite all right.
do it here. Because honestly, like when I reached out, I expected us to be doing it over Teams or Zoom or something like that. But when you said about
not at all.
Yeah, not at all. To be quite honest with you, that was probably the more accurate one. But
you're not too far away, are you? You're only around the corner in Hull.
Yeah, about an hour away. Yeah, exactly. But honestly, we couldn't be more thrilled to be here. But I think also more importantly, thank you to your wife and your kid and the dogs.
The dogs.
the dogs, the poor dogs have all been moved out just to allow us to be here. So please pass on our thanks to them, because honestly, like to have them shipped out just so we could have a conversation, bless them. But yeah, thank you so much. So we've both read both of the books, and they are an incredible read, and we'll obviously naturally talk about them as we go through the episode, but we obviously want to talk a lot about like the activity you experience and just what it's like living day to day. But I think what makes your books so fantastic is that each chapter of your book represents an event, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it's all about, the varying length depending on what the event entails, and I think that's what makes it such a good book to read. Yeah, we were talking about this on
Definitely.
the way.
I like your summary of the way you see it as well at the end.
Yeah, at the end of each chapter.
Sort of analysis of it.
William's thoughts.
Yeah. And Brett, I know you've said that you go to bed and read it, and it's weird that's exactly how I read it as well. Not in bed with you, I might add.
No, thanks for clarifying. Thank you.
But it's probably just a show that it's really quite creepy, and I prefer to be in bed so I could stop reading whenever I wanted and cover myself over and ignore the creepy world.
Yeah, I'd put My Little Pony on afterwards. I was honestly, some of them really did creep me out. Like,
yeah, me too.
Just to balance it.
Yeah, that's it. A bit of light and dark. But I would read some of them sometimes. And my wife's there and she's reading or she's on her phone or whatever, and I'll be there and I'll be like, oh my god, And she'd be like, what is wrong with you now? And I'm like, you've got to read this.
Do you find yourself talking to your partner about this sort of stuff?
Yeah. I mean, my wife is interested in the paranormal as well anyway. And she's had things happen to her before we got together. We've been together like 13 years now. And, even before we got together, she's had stuff that she can't explain. So she has a vested interest in it as well. And I've said to her, like, you've got to read these books because it's an incredible read. Yeah. And when I actually read certain excerpts of chapters to her, and she was like, fuck that. She was just like, nope, not a chance. And although I won't go too far into detail, but like some of the instances with the coins, which we'll talk about in a bit.
Sure.
But like that one in particular, she was like, no, I'm done. Don't want to know anymore. I'm done. But yeah, like some of the events that you've recorded are just totally
crazy, aren't they?
Crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't reread books. Like once I'm done with a book, I'm generally done, and I'll just wait for it to be turned into a movie. But but like these books, I'm like, yeah, I'll reread these because but they're so easy to read.
Yeah,
they are, aren't they? You can literally pick them up, read a couple of chapters, put it down again.
Yeah,
they're great books.
And it's a fascinating subject. I mean, obviously we're interested in the paranormal, but I think it'd be a fascinating subject for anybody to read, even if you're not convinced, if you're on the fence.
Yeah.
I'm somewhere in between being sceptical and open-minded, but I found it fascinating and really quite creepy in some places.
Truly unsettling, some of it.
You're very similar to me then. Yeah. You probably read in there that I explained myself like that. I was a skeptic when I moved in here, only because nothing had ever happened to me at 19 years old. I'm 40 now. And a hell of a lot's happened. You've read it.
Yeah.
So not loads has happened to me personally. A lot to friends and family. I've still not seen the lady of the house, but I've seen other things that I can't logically explain.
Yeah.
So I know there's something going on. And
that's exactly the sort of skepticism that I had, where it's not that I didn't believe what people were saying and what they had experienced. It's just it had not happened to me personally.
Yeah.
So there was always that. We went on one of the ghost hunt evenings once, and Brett, you felt your coat was pulled, didn't you? And it's like, well, I completely believed you, but I had no reason to think you were not telling the truth there. It didn't happen to me, so it wasn't quite as powerful for me as it was for you.
Yeah, of course.
And that's the sort of skepticism that I have still in some ways. But I did think the story was fascinating, and I think coming from somebody who is similar mindset to me made it even more powerful for me reading that.
Good. Yeah. I'd agree with it. I'd definitely say the same, because although that happened to me with my coat being pulled, there was one of the sort of organisers walking very close to where I was, and I thought to myself, did he do it?
Yeah.
And he had no reason to do it.
Yeah.
But it still didn't stop my sceptical part of my brain to sort of like go, there is a chance though that he did do it. I don't know this guy.
Yep.
He might have done it to get a reaction out of people, but why would he do it? Because he wants people to experience stuff. But then that might also be the reason why he did do it.
Yeah.
So I kind of like, I probably lean more towards believing than I do disbelieving, but I always try and, be skeptical. And
so the window's open at the top of the stairs. Don't worry. I heard it before and I thought somebody's going to mention it in a second.
That the handle's just that little bit down as well, I was like, my God.
I'll tell you what I will do. I'll tell you what I will do. I will shut, there's a window slightly open at the top of the stairs. I'm going to go and close
my
it.
scepticism was being challenged.
Then if you do hear something, then it's definitely something happening.
Honestly, I was like, oh my days. But it was like perfect timing, wasn't it?
It was really fun.
Well, we did say that if we caught anything, it'd be extraordinary, wouldn't it? So.
Yeah, apologies. The bathroom window was just ajar.
No.
I knew it was. I'd heard that rattle a couple of times. I thought.
Well, the thing is, I'd heard it a couple of times, but then I was just like, yeah, but it is quite windy out there now.
It is mega windy outside.
But then that time it was quite noticeable, and I was just like, holy Moses. But
well, if it happens now, then it's definitely something.
Cool.
It's definitely something going on.
So I can pull that face again a little bit. Right, okay, so can you tell us briefly a little bit about yourself and a bit about your background and how you first came to live here at 333.
Yeah, of course can. So I am called Liam. I've written under the name William Seagrave. I bought the house when I was 19 years old. So at the time, I'd been a mechanic apprentice for 3 years, working with Volkswagen. I'm out of breath because I've just run up and down stairs. Worked with Volkswagen now for, crikey, 25 years coming up.
Wow.
Very shortly. So I've worked with them for a long, long time. But I've gone through being a mechanic apprentice, parts technician, through to sales, business manager, and so on and so forth. I've now gone to the dark side to work directly for the brand themselves instead of being the franchisee side of things. But I love what I do, always have done, and I don't class myself as a writer, believe it or not. After writing 2 books, I work full time, and I'm a very proud father of my stepson who's 21 and my son who's 2.5, and happily married 6 years now.
21 though, because when reading those books, when you first start talking about him and he's so young, and then now you're talking about him and he's 21, it's like we've been on this journey with you from the start. It's really, the books are written in such a way it's so easily to be personable with you. You know what I mean? To really sort of relate.
It's funny seeing you guys walk in the house, to be fair, and watching you looking around at all the different bits that you've read in the book.
It's really weird and lovely that you've read about these rooms, these happenings, about you yourself, and then suddenly you're here. We're meeting you. We've been on our little tour around the house, and I mean I really took it away from the book from the beginning as well, when we were discussing that level of skepticism or being an outright non-believer in things. Yeah. I think probably with my background's quite scientific, your background is and quite practical.
Yep.
I think that's the sort of person who tends to be very unconvinced by vague happenings.
Yeah.
So I think it carries that extra weight for these things to happen to someone like you, who we know you're not one of those people who's just desperate to believe and see signs in every little movement.
And I explained to you before we started recording earlier, it took a lot for me to actually put the book out there in the first place, and I didn't expect it to get anywhere near what it's done.
Yeah.
So it's a strange situation to be in where people are like, oh, it's the infamous number 333.
Yeah.
To me, it's my home.
Yes.
I've been here 21 years, and as you mentioned earlier, it's a family home. It looks like a family home, but there are strange things that happen here and still happen here.
Which, to be fair, that leads me on to what was the first strange thing you remember noticing? So, but I mean personally, because when we was reading your book, it seems like some of the first things that really happened seemed to happen to other people. Like the first person to see the lady in the bay window was a friend when you pulled up outside the house.
Yep.
And then, the things that happened here in the living room, someone else saw. But what do you remember to be the first thing that happened to you and made you realise that it kind of substantiated or related to things other people had experienced?
Okay, so I'd only been in the house, I can't put an exact number on this, but it was probably a couple of years at the time. And the sofa lifting up. So you've read about this in the first book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty much sat where that sofa used to be at the minute. It didn't used to be. We're sat on an L-shaped sofa to put people in the picture at the minute.
Yep.
The sofa on this back wall was it was really a 2-seater, but there were 3 of us sat on it, and I was sat on this side, so on the right-hand side of that sofa. And I'm chatting away to friends who were on another sofa, which is in the downstairs bay window. Same size, but 2 of them are sat on it, one of them sat on the arm of the sofa, and I'm chatting to him when I feel like the strangest feeling. It felt like I'd been lifted up. But I was sat, as I am now, with my feet up on a poof in the middle of the room. It wasn't a bull-shaped one like this one.
That's awesome.
But I was sat with my feet up like this, and it was quite a large square thing. So the other 2 lads who were sat next to me had their feet up as well. And we were watching the football on the telly, which will have been on the far wall away from where I'm sitting. It lifted up. The sofa lifted up. And the bang that it made when it came back down, it's a big, heavy sofa. The bang that it made when it hit the floor, because they were wooden floorboards, Originally, it's tiled in here now, but they were the original oak floorboards that I'd sanded down. It was quite scary. To put it into context, the guy that I was sat chatting to, he was the only one that was looking in this direction at the sofa, because the other two were watching the telly over yonder. He stood up and left the house that day. I've called the chap Brad. I changed all the names and the address and everything in the book for obvious reasons. It's still my family home. Brad's never been back to the house.
Wow.
He used to come round to my house back then in my early 20s, 2, 3, maybe 4 times a week. Because this was the place to be, because nobody else had a house at that time.
Yeah, he was a bit of a bachelor back then.
It was,
really,
yeah, basically, yeah. And you've read the book. It was a bit of a revolving door, the front door, for people to move in and rent rooms as well for a couple of years or a couple of months or whatever. But yeah, Brad has never stepped foot back in this house. He's actually coming to one of the theatre shows next year.
Nice.
Because he wants to relive.
Yeah,
that's one of the scenes in it. The sofa scene, and he's he put that. I've spoken to him plenty of times. I spoke to him about after the first book came out. Said, what's your thoughts on all of it, and blah blah blah. And he just said, I don't really want to come back. He said, I might come round for a beer one time, and he never has.
Wow.
So the first book's been out 2 years now, and he still hasn't been for a beer.
It's not dramatic to say that's a profound effect for somebody. Can you imagine not going around to a friend's house for so long?
We'd still see each other out for a drink. I'd still go out in the same circle of friends, quite a close-knit circle of friends as well. We'd still go out for a drink and go to the bowling alley and stuff, which was local, but yeah, he never stepped foot back in the house.
It's that sort of tangible happening where there just isn't an explanation for that, is it, really? I mean,
100% isn't. He actually saw it lift off the floor. I felt it. The other 2 lads who were sat next to me felt what happened, and obviously we all heard the bang. The bang when it hit the floor was huge.
And if Brad's reaction of like, well, I'm not coming back, if that's an act, he's been living that for 20 years. You know what I mean?
Years. He might just not like me.
Really good way of getting rid of this relationship.
I don't like this guy. I'm just going to say his house is haunted and I'm not going around. Yeah. But but seriously, I mean, that if it's an act, it's a hell of an act.
Oh yeah,
and he's
doing well
because he's keeping that up. You know, I mean, talk about method actors. He's living that. Because so that's for me. Is why it's also very, very compelling that this really did genuinely happen to all of you. Because he's like, well, I'm not stepping foot.
That was in broad daylight as well. That wasn't like a creepy time of night or anything daft like that. It was in broad daylight on a Saturday afternoon.
We only had this conversation the other day, didn't we? It's like if a place is haunted, it's haunted 24/7, not just at night. You know, things can happen anytime. They don't just come out at night. And the fact that also happened in the middle of the day, though, that does actually, I think, make it scarier. Because you associate that kind of activity with the dark and with night. So the fact that it happened in the middle of the day, I think I'd be with Brad. I think I'd come back. So, I mean, so how in those early years, though, you know, when you was here and before it became the family home that it is now. In those early years when it really started to happen, like, how did that affect your day-to-day life?
It's a good question. So when I first got the house, you'll know that I moved in with my fiance at the time. We only lasted about 6 months together. That wasn't because of the ghosts, I don't think. We just kind of went our separate ways. Affecting daily life, other than not seeing Brad, it didn't really. I told you this. I did a bit of a tour around with you guys earlier and showed you around the house to where all the hot spots and things are. There are friends now that will not go upstairs in this house. My wife cuts hair, for instance, and they will come around, have their hair cut, and then they won't go and check it. In the one mirror that we have at the top of the stairs, they won't go upstairs and check the hair in the mirror. So they're affected because things have happened to them in the house, some of which believe that some things followed them home, because there's bits about the coin story with Ian. He's one of the big ones who will not go anywhere near going upstairs in this house. And I'm a big Sheffield United fan. I watched the football with him. Now that my son's 2, I haven't got a season ticket anymore at the minute. I've had to give that up, so has he. So I see him very often, and we come here to watch it on the big telly. So he, he's round here quite a bit and will not go anywhere near that staircase.
Is he still wary downstairs?
Oh, yeah. He's also one that has left the house when something happened. We had and this is in neither of the books, to be fair. We had a scratching sound in the kitchen from the ceiling. Now, again, this was in the middle of the day. I was stood with Ian, and Ian seems to be a bit of a magnet for stuff in the house. Quite a few bits have happened to him. But he was stood with me, and it's when you bring up something about the house, when you're talking about the house, things tend to happen. And he always says, come on, has anything weird happened lately? And sort of under his breath, like he doesn't want anyone to hear in the house.
He must want it to happen.
And there was a really loud scratching sound came from the extension roof, where we've got sort of a roof light in the extension. Now, my first thoughts were, could be a squirrel or a cat or something on the roof. It was louder than that. It was like internally scratching, in the walls scratching, but right above our heads. And he just looked at me and said, no, going home. I'm not staying for that. And we have a bit of a laugh about it, but he's serious. He doesn't want to be here when stuff starts happening.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be fair, what you said there, that sounds like Charlotte. That she'd do that.
I'm off.
She'd go, no, I'm done. I'm out. That'd be her reaction. My wife would behave like that. Yeah. I think for me, what I always think about when I've read your stories and everything is, it's sleep. Like, how does being in a house?
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about it before we started recording for the episode, but I don't know how on earth you can go to bed, go to sleep, and not think about something unseen just wandering around.
Being there,
just doing what... I don't know how you switch off.
I'm a busy boy, so I'm quite tired when I go to bed. But to be fair, I'm not the best sleeper. My wife, literally, her head hits the pillow, she's out, which is a good thing because she is a lot more scared about stuff that happens in the house. Right. If I hear a noise in the house, I tend to run towards it. She would run away from it. But there are times, and I mentioned to you guys just before we came on, talking on the microphones, there are times where I do hear noises in the house where I will just leave it because sometimes it's futile to run towards it because you get there and nothing's there, nothing's happened. And if I'm tired, like for instance last night, on a busy week this week, I was finishing off the audiobook yesterday. My wife was still at work. I literally got in bed at 7 o'clock last night. How my Saturday nights have changed. Got in bed at 7 o'clock with my son, settled him down with his bottle of milk, and I heard a noise literally sounded like a door shutting. I told you guys this earlier. It was as plain as day. It was a door shutting, a wooden door shutting. There's nobody living next door at the minute. We know that. You've seen the sold sign outside. Mm-hmm. They've not been in there for 6 months. We're waiting for the new people to move in next door. But I heard that and I kind of looked at my son who was snuggled up and I thought, I'm not going to check. But what I did do is bring up the app on my phone and have a look at the CCTV to make sure the house was secure because that's on the outside of the house.
Yes.
So I had a look at the CCTV, made sure there's nothing going on untoward outside and thought, if there is something in here, it can crack on. I'm in bed.
Yeah, that's fair point. Fair point.
Yeah, but there are particular nights where noise does happen where I'll turn the television on or potentially turn the light on to get to sleep.
Yeah.
Because it can be quite off-putting sometimes.
That resonates with me because I understand what you're saying about it must feel weird trying to go to sleep with that thought. But certainly for me, when I'm in bed, it's almost like pulling the covers over your head to protect yourself. Of course it doesn't, but you feel like it does. Yeah. And for me, just staying in bed, if something weird's going on, would probably be the way I would go. And I had this, the other week I was on call, and I went to bed late, and I'd actually been reading your book. And
my fault.
It was a bit of a drag, finally.
I was drifting off to sleep, and my wife and our little one had tidied up her bedroom in the day, and there was some stuff they were getting rid of, old toys and things that were in our bedroom. Yeah. And one of them was this little sort of chameleon toy that lights up and makes a noise, and it just started going off. And all I thought was, I really frigging hope I don't get called out because I don't want to get out of bed now. 'Cause I felt safe in bed. And I think, so it does resonate, Well, no reason to believe our house is haunted. It's old, but that's it. Nothing weird's happened. But just that toy going off, I don't think it was necessarily anything supernatural, but freaked me out a little bit. But I just thought, as long as I can stay in bed, I'll ignore it and go to sleep. Whereas if my phone had gone off and I'd have been called out then, I'd have been real wary walking out of the house. I'd have felt strange.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You see, for me, it's just that, like, although we, certainly in the last house we was in, we had some real weird stuff happen, didn't we? And certainly not to the... Certainly wasn't as regular as some of the activity you've had here. But it was stuff that did happen, unsettled me enough for a while that I did find it difficult to go to sleep on a night. And that's kind of why, when I was reading it, I was putting myself in these situations and I was just like, I don't know how the guy gets any more than an hour sleep a night, because I'd be there like constantly like, what's going on? Where's it coming from?
It can be tough. Like I say, it can be tough. And I mentioned before about Paranormal Investigators. When we've had them round, I've only had them round twice now, I think. Twice it is, yeah. No, 3 times. I've had 3 lots of Paranormal Investigators round. And after they've left, things have started to happen. Like the house has come to life a little bit. So getting in bed on your own, and like today, my wife's been shipped out on all those occasions. Wife's been shipped out with the little one and the dogs, and I'm in the house on my own. And as you can tell now, it's windy outside. It's quiet in here. You can hear a pin drop. So if there is any noise, if there's any shuffling about, footsteps, movement, you hear it. And I've been in bed many a time when that's been happening and just thought, no, put the telly on, light on. And sometimes put headphones in. And put a podcast on or something just to frame myself away from whatever's happening.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Again, braver man than me. But
or stupider.
Maybe a bit of both. I mean, your book mentions raising money for charity through these stories. So for those that aren't aware, the proceeds of both books have gone to Cavendish?
Just the second one hasn't. So the first one does, yeah. So book 1, The Lady in the Bay Window, it was all basically written because my mum had a rare form of breast cancer, really rare form of breast cancer, bless her. And we lost her back in May 23. Sad to report, she didn't quite get to read the final edit, but she did sort of help along the way with the book and stuff. I'm not a writer, but she did help with the odd word or phrase with it.
Bless her.
But I wanted to do something to help. And for the last 3 years of my mum's illness, I was writing the book. And I launched it on October 31st that year and basically asked my mum before she passed, who would you like all the money to go to? Who's been the best charity that's helped you? And she said it was a small charity in Sheffield called Cavendish Cancer Care, who don't just help cancer patients, they help families of cancer patients. They've just done a merge with Western Park Cancer Charity, who are brilliant. So I'm happy to be working with them, and it's just raised over 52 grand.
Wow.
In the first 2 years.
That is incredible.
And just to be clear, the second one is for me and my little family. So I spent the next 2 years writing another book, and I kind of said, right, the first one will always be, audiobook and book will always be for charity. The second one is for me and my little family.
Yeah, good for you.
That's great.
No, good for you.
And I mean, the amount of effort it takes to write a book.
It's long. It takes me away from
and Brett have tried our hand, haven't we?
Yeah.
I started one just over 5 years ago, and I still haven't finished it.
Yeah.
Because it was. I mean, that was just
takes
fiction.
That much time.
But it does,
especially when you're working full time as well.
Yeah.
I would genuinely. I think you'll see it in the first couple of pages. The dedication in the second book, I've put writing takes me away from.
Yeah, it does.
From my family.
That's right.
Yeah,
and it does massively. So I've kind of done it and dedicated it to them and just give them a bit better life. Hopefully.
It's not something you can just go do for half an hour. You need. Sometimes it takes half an hour just to get in the mindset to get
it does.
words out. So it takes a long, long time. So I think good for you.
I'm glad you brought that up, Brett, because I really did want to say to you, I think it's absolutely amazing that you've done that. I mean. For any author, if you set out just just to make money for yourself from a book, which is perfectly fine. You know,
Of course it is.
It's your effort, but you know, to have achieved the success that you have with it and been able to have donated £52,000, it's just absolutely incredible.
It'll just keep going.
Absolutely
That's
incredible.
Forever. That'll just keep going. The book and the audiobook for that will just keep going to that charity. So one day it'll be double that, hopefully. If it carries on.
Well, I certainly hope so, and an incredible legacy for yourself as well, really, to leave that behind. You know, because you know that book could carry on selling long after we're all gone.
It's weird, isn't it, to talk about it like that.
And again, that's a legacy, isn't it? You know, and I couldn't think of a better cause. You know, fantastic.
Thank you, guys.
So, although 333 is now so well known as a result of the books, for the listeners who aren't as aware, can you describe for the listeners who haven't seen any of the videos or read the books, the layout of the house? And then obviously that'll just sort of help people understand a little bit about the lady in the bay window.
Yeah, of course. As is now, or as is when I bought it, because it has changed dramatically since I bought it.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, actually. Yeah, I mean, I suppose if we say about what it was like when you first took it, and then a little bit like what we're sitting in now.
Okay, cool. So the house, when I first purchased it, I can remember sitting in my car outside the house before I went for the first viewing and looking up at it. It's quite a steep road that we're sat on, and as you look up at the house, back then there was a wall right across the front of the house that came out to the sort of curbside. So there's a little bit of a path next to it, but came pretty much out to the curb, and then atop that was quite a large hedge that sort of fenced in the front garden, if you like. So you couldn't see a lot from the roadside. You could literally just see the top of the house, the top bay window, which is obviously where the first sighting was of the lady. So it's a 3-bed semi. There's nothing particularly special about it. It's got very high ceilings, as you guys can see right now. I'm a tall guy, so I needed.
It's lucky then, isn't it? Really?
I needed a house with tall doors, ceilings. But it's just a nice 1936, March 25th, 1936 to be precise, semi-detached house. 3-bedroom. It's got a downstairs toilet, and had when I moved in. And past that, as you walk through the kitchen and past that WC, which is the second door on the right hand side now, didn't used to be. It used to be through a lean-to utility room. So you'd kind of go outside into the cold, into a utility roomy sort of place that had, how can I explain this? Tiles missing from the ceiling, pane, one of the glass panes was smashed on it. It was it needed knocking down. And then you walk back on yourself to come back into the WC. So I've changed where that is now, and obviously there's an extension on the back of the house where that used to be. So it's quite a big open plan kitchen downstairs.
Beautiful.
But as you can see, the front room's very cosy. It's quite small front room.
Nice. Yeah. So do you feel like there's any particular areas which are more active than others?
Yes. When it comes to noises like EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, that sort of stuff, we tend to have picked up more stuff in here in the living room.
Tell us that now.
Or if you're talking footsteps and that side of things, it's the top of the stairs or the staircase or the bottom of the stairs down here. So we've even seen a shadow underneath that door there that has walked, and we've seen this multiple times. It's not just myself here. Multiple witnesses, multiple times, have seen a shadow go past the bottom of that door and then heard the footsteps walk upstairs, and even try the bathroom handle and walk onto the tiles in the bathroom. So, yeah, that's happened plenty of times. But if you tell it to stop, so my brother gets very freaked out when he comes round here. He doesn't like being in this house. If you shout and tell it to stop, it stops.
Oh.
So whatever it is, I don't think it's here to scare us in any way, shape or form.
Yeah.
But yeah, it will stop on request.
Oh, well, at least
and
it's
that's
polite.
something you do come across quite frequently in the paranormal world, I think. And there's certain spirits or whatever they are, where if you do make it clear that they're scaring you and ask them just to leave, often you'll find the activity stops or calms
Lulls.
down, and it is as you say, they're not necessarily out to frighten you.
No.
So I mean, we
Completely
don't know
agree.
their purpose, but
No.
it doesn't seem to be to scare the living.
And I think I'm trying to think of other hotspots. You've got obviously the bay window upstairs. You've got 3 sightings of a lady with short grey hair, dark cardigan, white blouse in that window. One of which is a guy that I didn't know. He'd lived across the road. I was showing you guys the house earlier where he lived since 1967 in that house. And it was still their family home until 2022. So, yeah, he saw the lady after she'd passed and got in contact with me after reading the book.
That is incredible.
It's
When I read
mad,
that, I
isn't it?
thought that is insane.
And he was a really nice, because you never know, do you, when you meet people in different worlds, different realms, that sort of thing. You never know what they're going to be like. He was just a really nice guy in his probably late 50s, early 60s, smartly dressed, came across really well, had quite a professional career. Wasn't a wacko or anything, wasn't a crazy person. He was just a lovely bloke who said, it was a non-event to me, and then when I read your book and I even saw the cover of your book, I swore, and he said, I don't swear, but I saw that and went, oh, I'm part of this story. I saw that after she'd passed. That was crazy, interviewing him in the kitchen when he came round.
I really enjoyed that chapter, actually, when like just hearing how just genuine he was, as you say, he wasn't just some wacko trying to jump on the bandwagon.
No.
It seemed 100% genuine.
Oh, yeah.
And I loved that chapter.
He was just a nice guy.
Yeah, it just seemed like a
have to
really
come forward.
nice... Yeah, exactly. And I think it was just really nice that you was able to talk to someone who literally lived across the road.
Yeah.
And was a part of the story.
Without knowing it.
Without knowing it. Exactly, yeah.
And it was profound enough for him to put his head above that parapet where you're open to ridicule. That's the main problem with the paranormal world in general, is people are very frightened to say
100. I nearly didn't put the book out even when I'd written it.
Yeah.
Because I work in quite a decent profession.
Yeah.
I was worried about putting the book out there, but people have loved hearing stories. It's amazing how passionate the paranormal community is.
Yeah.
About this sort of stuff. It's great.
Exactly.
So I'm glad I did it now.
No, definitely. So am I. So in the book, you refer to the activity often as the Week of Madness. So can you explain to listeners who haven't read your book what that means and the nature of the activity, and maybe how that's changed over time? Like, has it become more frequent, aggressive, whatever?
Yeah, of course can. There is no rhyme or reason to dates and when it happens, that sort of thing, just to put you in the picture with that. But what normally happens is we will have a month or 2 or even 3 where nothing happens. And sometimes it spans more than that, but nothing happens at all. It is a normal home. As far as we're concerned, nothing's happening. Unless it's happening in the dead of night where we're asleep and we're not seeing it or hearing it, nothing happens. Then starts some little things. You might start hearing the odd footstep or door opening, closing, rattling when there's no windows open. And as you've seen in the house, they're all brand new windows, so it's quite... I mean, it'll be ventilated, as every house is, so there's always going to be some form of air, suction or vacuum in there. But yeah, we'll start to hear the odd thing, footsteps, doors rattling. Then it'll move on throughout that week, and we call it the Week of Madness because it sort of gets a little bit worse, or a little bit worse, a little bit worse, or better if you look at it now from a writing a book sense. Without that happening, I wouldn't have written a second book. And then it sort of crescendos towards the end of a week or 2. It's not necessarily a week, but we call it the Week of Madness.
Yeah.
But when it starts, it generally is not just one thing, it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
It's kind of like that snowball.
It carries on, snowballs, but it gets worse and worse, or bigger and bigger, if you like.
Yeah.
Throughout the week.
And that's always fascinating. It's something I've come to think about quite frequently. And as we discussed, me and Brett have been to a few of these ghost hunt nights at various places. One in particular was at Thorn Workhouse, and this is where I sort of well, it's not a theory as such, but this is where I started thinking in this way. We were listening to one of those spirit boxes, that just shout things out. And one of our friends got so scared up in this little attic bit. But it seemed like the more afraid she got, the more aggressive and loud and it got to the point where I started to feel something massive's going to happen here.
I felt like something was just going to blow up. I felt like a chair was going to fly across the room. Yeah. It was like, my God, like the tension and the atmosphere and everything it's building, and not in a good way.
And it was like it was feeding on her fear. Yes. And in the end, she had to leave, and one of our other friends went with her. Yeah. And then at this point, this spirit box started to be like shouting bitch and all sorts of things. Yeah. And that was quite like, again, you've always got a fair level of skepticism with these spirit boxes because you've not bought it or set it up or anything. So you don't know if somebody's just set it up to do that, the skeptical part of your brain. But that felt like something was going to happen there. Yeah. And I think it was feeding off that fear and attention. And then really when she'd gone, it settled back off quite a bit, didn't it? I mean, I think we felt freaked out because of what had happened, but certainly the spirit box calmed down and then nothing much more happened. Okay. And I think it's almost, the more attention you give to something when things start happening, it does then seem to build up and hit that crescendo, doesn't it?
And it's like, you can't not pay attention to it.
No.
I mean, if something happens, it's not a natural event. No. So you're going to pay attention to it. So you pay attention to it, you feed into it. So then it has more energy to do something else. Yep. And then you pay attention again because not only has something happened again, but it's actually a little bit bigger than the last thing. So naturally you're going to give it more energy because you're paying attention to it again.
Yeah, true.
And it's just this domino effect, isn't it? And there's no way you can't get around it because there's something happening within your house that is beyond the normal. And it's not you, it's not your missus, it's not your son, it's not the dogs. So it'd be no different to any other intruder. I won't call it an intruder, but you know what I'm saying. You'd behave the same way if there was an intruder. So naturally you give it the same level of attention.
You do.
And
sometimes I thought it was an intruder.
Of course you will.
Genuinely thought somebody's been in the house quite a few times. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you hear a noise which you're not expecting to hear, that is where your brain will instantly go, I've thought it, and it's my fucking cat. Wandering around or jumping around like being an idiot. But if it's a noise you're not expecting to hear, or it's a noise you don't think you should be hearing, you will instantly go into defensive mode and you'll think, well, there's potentially an intruder. But then when it's not an intruder, then what the F is it? And then that's when it starts, it's a little bit of fear, which they say that's what they can feed off. It's quite a potent energy that they can feed off. Yeah. And it's naturally just going to build, and then that's where this week of madness happens, really. So.
And that, when you say about intruders, I think the worst one I had with that, it's one of the scariest things that's ever happened to me in the house, was the man's voice from the stairs that said, "Come here."
Yeah.
Yes, honestly.
That was just awful. It makes the hair stand. You can see the hair standing up on my arms.
Just made me go goosey everywhere because I remember reading that chapter now, and when I was telling you I've read some of those chapters out to my missus. That was one I read to her, and she went "fuck off" because it freaked her out.
But the house is locked. The windows are locked. There's nobody in the house. But I heard that as plain as I'm talking to you guys now.
And I think that sort of thing. We've spoke about some spirits. If you ask them to stop, you say, "You're scaring me," it'll stop. Yep. But then that one seemed a bit more along the sinister lines, where that's a scary thing to happen.
It is massively. But was it talking to me? Was it talking to the dog at the top of the stairs? Because I had mum and dad's dog at the top of the stairs at the time.
That's it. Because if it likes the dog, maybe it just
could
wants
have been come here.
Come here. Give the dog
Didn't sound like
attention.
that. Didn't sound like a nice come here.
Well, let's try and rationalise it a little bit. I want to sleep tonight. I get that. So, I mean, it's actually like you've just said that you've not been able to give any sort of like rhyme or reason to when these sorts of events happen. And that was going to be my next question, actually, is like, do you feel like there's any particular times when... I suppose an obvious one would be Halloween, because Halloween is supposedly when the veil is at its thinnest. But in your books, you've never said
literally-
that nothing happens on.
No, I don't think we had anything happen on Halloween,
Which is
other than the odd
crazy,
trick or treater.
Yeah.
Which is quite amusing now, because I think there are, as much as I've tried to keep it from being a circus, there are some people who know that this is the house.
They've cottoned onto it.
They've cottoned on
Yeah.
through descriptions of local landscapes and stuff. So, it's amusing this Halloween, watching a few trick-or-treaters come up, like, looking inside the house.
Do we even dare? Yeah, brilliant. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, this, I'm really excited to hear what your answer will be to this. So, in your book, you obviously chronicle dozens of incidents,
Yes.
and you've just explained one there, and it made your hair stand on end.
Yes.
But which single event still haunts you the most, and why?
Whew.
Probably should have prepped you for that, because there's a lot
No,
that's
that's
happened.
all right. There's a lot that's happened. I'm just trying to think through. There's a few things. That is one of them. Don't get me wrong. That voice that I heard, I still hear that now, and I can repeat that voice. And I did it for the audiobook. I can repeat it pretty much how it was, and it was creepy, very creepy. That made me freeze. There's only a few things that have made me actually just freeze and not be able to move. One of which I've just written about in the second book, which was the cough in my ear after hearing a xylophone, a creepy xylophone noise coming from the wardrobe. And I've gone to open the wardrobe with both hands. You've seen the wardrobe when I took you on the tour earlier. It's just a fitted wardrobe in the bedroom. I've gone to open it with both hands. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. It's quite a nice, bright day. And it stopped, but then there was a cough in my ear, and it was so... I can't make the noise myself, because it was like a really guttural smoker's cough.
Yep.
But it was there, and I genuinely felt like somebody was stood there, and if I turned, I would have been face to face with something. That was very scary.
Yeah, because I think that sort of breaks that boundary between something being just like the sound of footsteps. That's the creak of something that's happening as there's pressure and all the rest of it. But to hear a voice or a cough, that's a vocal thing that we produce. You know, I mean, like scratches on walls and knocks are just a byproduct of a number of things. And but to have for this to have a voice makes it
it's more
quite
humanized, or it's
And I think that's what makes that scarier.
Was it made me stand? I don't know how long I stood there. It's probably only seconds, but it felt like minutes. Yeah. But I couldn't move. I still had hold of the handles, like tightly hold the handles, like I was on a bloody roller coaster or something. But I couldn't speak, couldn't move, and I thought, if I turn my head to the left, there's going to be somebody stood next to me. Until I got my wife's attention, who was in bed behind me. And like I say, again, this is not a creepy. It's not like dark or anything. It's there's bird song outside. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. It was weird.
Yeah.
And like I say, very, very scary. I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
No, and it's strange, isn't it? Because I think people think frozen with fear is a turn of phrase, but it's not.
It's an actual thing. You do freak.
I don't know if you've ever felt that way. I did once. It turned out to be absolutely nothing. But I'd gone up when I lived in my old little cottage. I'd gone up into the spare room, which was like an office, and looked out of the window. I'd not turned the light on because I was just grabbing something, and I just sort of glanced out of the window, and there was just this white sort of mannequin-like face just staring at me, and I absolutely froze. And then I realised it was a reflection, and I had one of those phrenology head things on the shelf.
Fucking idiot.
But I did. I
You
froze.
do
I just didn't move.
freeze, as in your arms can't move anything. You're just paralysed with fear.
It was so scary. I mean, like I say, absolutely nothing in reality. But I did freeze with fear, and you do.
But I think that's the only two times that's happened. Being frozen with fear, that's the only two times that's happened. And obviously there's the knives in the floor, which I spoke to you about briefly earlier off mic. We were talking about that as I toured you around the house. I don't know if that's paranormal, but if it wasn't, it was somebody... This is quite a nice area. And
Yeah.
I don't know why somebody on a Sunday morning would come into somebody's house and put 5 knives in the floor.
And not take anything. And
Not take anything, not take the car keys.
Yeah.
The car was on the drive. But also not wake me up while they're doing it. My bedroom's here, bang above us. And it was in that corner of the room where we're sat.
It's actually remarkable that you've brought that up, because that is going to be one of my next questions, because...
I'm stealing your thunder, sorry.
No, it's like you're psychic. So one particular instance I wanted to ask about was from the first book, and you tell the story of a housemate who was a friend of a friend, and in the book she's named Sadie.
Yes.
So I do have a question about that, but first of all, that I wanted to ask about the event which happened with Sadie, and that is the one with the knives. So could you just sort of tell a little bit about that story then? Because I do also have a question to follow up on that afterwards, but obviously for those that haven't read the book, just summarise it a little bit.
Yeah, of course I can. I'll try my best. So Sadie is a friend of a friend. She moved to Sheffield, she got a job in Sheffield, and she basically needed a room somewhere. And I had 2 rooms spare at the time. I was living on my own at the time. So she moved in. She came to a poker night. We used to call it lads' night. And the number 1 rule that we had was no women were allowed. Apologies, ladies, if you're listening. But it was a Thursday night. It was a Thursday night, and it was everyone's sort of getaway to come round and play poker or play darts at my house. The rest of the week was fine for ladies to come round. That was fine. But this particular night, we broke that rule, and Sadie came round with Leah, who's a family friend of mine that I've known since she was born. So she introduced me to her. She moved in the next day. She moved in on a Friday. And we agreed on that Thursday night, while everyone was there, they loved a house party, and of course, any reason to have a party, she was moving in, house party. So the Saturday night, everyone came round, we had a fantastic day, the sun was good to us, it was a beautiful day. Everyone started leaving at about, crikey, probably 2, 3 in the morning. It was a late one. I was in my early 20s, I was allowed to do that then, and not suffer.
And you was able to do it.
I was able to do it, yeah, of course, yeah. But one chap, I've called him Seth in the book, didn't leave that night. He couldn't get a taxi, and he wasn't working till early in the afternoon the next day. So he stayed on the sofa, pretty much where you guys are sat in my front room now. He was laid on that sofa when me and Sadie went to our separate rooms that night. Now, at 9 o'clock in the morning, I told Seth the keys were in the door. He could leave when he wanted, and just post the keys, whatever. The keys are in the door, just leave when you need to. Don't wake me up, I will probably be hungover. So, 9 o'clock the next morning, I heard a taxi outside, heard a black cab burbling away outside. I then heard the keys in the door, and the door slammed shut with the keys in the door. So he'd opened the door, he'd unlocked it, he'd gone out, and then he slammed the door shut. And it's a UPVC door. It's a different one to what's there now, but it was a big UPVC door. And I heard it slam shut. Now, you know as well as I do, once you've slammed one of those shut, they lock on one of the 5 locks or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not locked as in you can't open the handle, but it ain't going to come back open.
Yeah. It's latched.
It's latched. Yeah. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So that's 9 o'clock in the morning. I had a bit of a sore head, so I put my head back down on the pillow, went back to sleep. I woke back up around 11 o'clock that day. When I came downstairs a bit groggy, I looked up as I got about halfway down the stairs, and the front door was open. Not fully open, but it certainly wasn't shut. And I panicked. I ran down and thought, oh no, my car keys are on the side downstairs. I ran down to the foot of the stairs, opened the door, looked outside. Sadie's handbag was outside. The contents of her handbag was just strewn across the floor. Cigarette box, money, cards, everything, makeup, you name it. It was all on the floor outside at the top of the path. It's quite a steep path to come up to the front of the house. It's now got steps in it. You'll have seen the steps in it. Before, it was just a steep pitted path. But all her stuff was just strewn out on the floor. I ran back in the house, shouted out and said, come downstairs quick. I think we've been robbed. I looked round and thought, my car's still there. If somebody's robbed us, surely they would have taken the car. But I'd not been in the front room yet. So I was in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I need to help her pick this up very quickly because I need to get in the front room and find out what the hell's missing. But I helped pick all stuff up, and she looked at me and said, There's nothing missing. We walked back into the front room, and as we got to this door here and looked across, there were 5 knives across the foot of that door. Now, these were in size order, from largest to smallest. They were all 3-4 inches apart across the foot of the door. They were my knives, they were my cooking knives that normally sat in a block in the kitchen. But it was an oak floor. As I said earlier, I sanded down the floor in here. It was all the old... Remember when people used to varnish around a rug in the centre of the room? Really thick, dark, black varnish over years and years.
Yeah.
That's what it's like when I moved in. So I sanded all that down and varnished it myself. So I was quite proud of the job I'd done on that. And for somebody to do that in the floor, I mean, it was creepy to see it for a start.
Yeah, it's a very strange thing, isn't it? Like,
Feels
but
sinister,
I stepped over it to go into the kitchen, told Sadie to stay in here, and I walked around the kitchen. There were 2 cabinet doors open and in the kitchen, and one of the drawers was open, the cutlery drawer was open, but there was nothing missing. Nothing was missing in the house at all. Everything was locked up on the back. As I said before, I think the first thing I did was look at Sadie and say, is this some sort of sick joke? Has Seth done this before he's left? But he's not that sort of kid at all.
Yeah.
And none of my mates are. None of them would dare do anything like that in the house. Like it's disrespect more than anything, I think.
it is, and it's an incredibly weird thing to do. So even if you see that as not at all supernatural, it's really weird, really unsettling.
Really weird.
It's not a funny prank, is it?
No.
No, that's it.
But
It's if you was going to play a prank, you'd do something, at least something that you could find funny but annoying.
Yeah.
You're not just
the worst
outright.
The worst prank I've had from my mates in my house is somebody swapping all the stuff out of one cupboard into another cupboard.
Yeah. Because it's annoying, but it's
annoying.
funny at the same time.
You go in to get some salt and you go, where's that gone? Oh, everything's been swapped.
Yeah. So it's annoying in the moment, but then afterwards you
anything.
sort of think to yourself, oh, for fuck's sake, and you sort of laugh about it, don't you? There's nothing funny about wedging 5 knives into a floor.
The worst thing was, so once I actually phoned Seth that day and said, well, I was angry. It was like,
Naturally.
what have you done? What have you done this morning before you've left my house? He was like, what are you talking about? I went, the knives. What have you done with those knives? And he went, what are you talking about? I have no idea. And you could tell in his voice it was genuine. So I've gone to work, mate. I'm like, I'm going to work in a bit. I'm like, okay. Well, the knives are like, they were like 2 inches into the floor.
I was just about to say, you described them as being like 2 inches deep into the ground.
They were hard to pull out. So to get them in the floor, I think I did a podcast after the first book came out, and I didn't think about this when I was writing it. They were that hard to get out. To get them in, you would have to hit them in with a hammer or some sort of implement. There's no way you could have driven them into an oak floor. How they were.
And if that's the case,
I would have heard it.
Yeah. It would have woke you up. That's exactly what I was just about to say. If they've been driven into the ground, into the floor, even just by pure force, without a hammer or whatever, there's no way, even with a bad head from the night before,
well, I heard
that would have. Yeah, exactly. It would have woken
you had the
you
door
up.
closed.
And they had the door closed.
You had all that. So
Yeah.
how on earth did you not hear that? I'm sorry, but that is just one of the most compelling events.
Because we discussed this, didn't we? And we said it must have been quite awful for Seth as well, because of course he's the prime suspect.
Yeah,
of course he is.
Logically thinking.
Yeah.
So it must have been quite a weird call to get.
Well, yeah.
To say, what have you done with the knife? He's like, well,
yeah.
the hell do you mean?
And I'm quite house proud. I mean, you've seen the house now.
Yeah.
I'm quite a house proud person. It's my home. So for somebody to do that, especially in those floorboards, that took me ages to
A beautiful floor.
So very frustrating. But I mean, it's gone now. Like I say, it's tiled in here, but underneath the tiles down there will still be holes in the floor.
That is insane. Yeah, I think it's one of the most compelling events I've read, because it just far exceeds any sort of quote-unquote normal paranormal activity where people will say they've heard voices or they've heard knocks or bangs or anything, but it's so bizarre. It's just out there, isn't it? Yeah,
it is.
But I think the thing as well from that story, which I came away from, not only was I like blown away simply by that event, but you also explained that Sadie just sort of moved out one day and she was just gone.
Just gone.
And she'd even left her possessions.
Everything.
Have you ever found out why that was the case?
No,
Because
I mean, to be fair, she owed me rent, and I think I wrote about this in the book.
You did.
As well. She owed me 2 months' rent.
But she left her possessions.
She left her possession. I've spoke to Leah about it since. Obviously, I've never spoke to her. I tried to contact her. She never got back in touch. So I just kind of thought, these things happen. She's moved out. She owed a bit of rent. She just thought, I'm not paying that.
And if you got in touch with her, maybe she'd think you'd be asking for the rent.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think for me, I was like, well, did she leave? Because leave to not pay rent, I can get that if you're that way inclined. I mean,
Yeah.
bit scummy, but
Yeah.
there you go. Some people will like that. But
You live and learn.
yeah, you do. But to leave her possessions, I don't understand that. Do you feel like maybe something happened and she was just like, fuck this, I'm going? I mean, I owe him 2 months' rent. One, I'll get away from paying rent, but two, I'll get away from whatever's just happened. Do you ever think that she's been driven out?
Maybe. Do you know, quite a strange one? So I did actually get her possessions back to her father, who it turns out knew somebody in my family, and he was quite high up in the clergy.
Oh.
So I managed to get her possessions back to her. Not to her personally, I gave them to her dad.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was quite high up in the clergy. Dad. But no, I genuinely don't know if anything happened to her. I'd only be speculating on something. It could have happened to her. She could have bolted like Brad, but
Like you, I found it strange that she left her possessions, because if you were just leaving purely just to avoid the rent,
yeah,
you'd have took your stuff.
you'd have planned, wouldn't you?
You'd have planned.
That's it. I mean, you'd have just been like, well, I know that...
I mean everything. I mean all the clothes. Like 2 suitcases worth of clothes, and
I'm sorry, but...
the room was all kitted out with fairy lights and all sorts of stuff around it.
I'm sorry. I feel like there's something more to it. Me personally, I obviously purely speculation.
Yeah.
I don't know her at all. You know her a bit, but I know her not even an ounce. But for me, just the fact that like she left her things, I just get this feeling, and I could be majorly reading between the lines, but I just get this idea that like something else happened, and she was like, you know what, fuck this. I owe him rent anyway. I'm going to just get out of here. It gets me out of paying the rent, which I'm behind on anyway, but I ain't sticking around for any more of this bullshit. Like,
And in reality, if you left because of fear of something, it might not have even had anything at all to do with the rent. That might have just been an unhappy coincidence that she happened to owe you some money as well.
Maybe she did intend to pay you it, but then that happened and she was just like, you know what, I'm gone.
Yeah.
But it's the
fact that she never answered the phone. I mean, I tried phoning and texting all sorts, and she never answered the phone.
It's
even to this day as well, though, you know.
Never spoke to her.
So weird.
Never spoke to her since. Very strange.
Did you get the general impression she was a decent enough person? I mean, obviously let her live here.
She seemed absolutely sound. I didn't know her from Adam when I first met her on that Thursday night, but she lived here for a while and she seemed absolutely sound. Like, we'd have a good laugh, we'd have a drink, and we'd obviously eat together every now and again because we lived together.
Sharing a house, yeah.
Yeah.
Because again, I feel like, you know, if it was purely about money and the rent, you could have probably just sat down and said, look, I'm really struggling at the minute. Do you mind if I pay you less for a short while? And then
you've spoke to me. I'm a reasonable.
Yeah.
I can imagine you'd be able to work something out. Yeah, definitely. And I think that when that chapter was over, that was the bit that really stuck with me, other than obviously the natural knives in the floor thing. But I was just really sort of like, well, why did she leave her stuff? That is so like
Strange.
Leaving, you know,
all your belongings,
all your clothes and everything. Like, I mean, I don't know. For me, it really just didn't sit right with me at all.
I agree.
And if you're listening, Sadie, let us know, because we'd love to know. I mean, over the years, you've also managed to capture some fantastic audio and video evidence. And you've uploaded many of these to your Facebook page. But would you just mind giving us a couple of sort of like brief insights to some of that evidence you've captured?
Of course I can. I think the big one that kind of went a little bit viral was the baby crib.
Yes.
So my little boy, I talked with my wife about putting him into his own room for a long time, and then 9 months came where we decided we were going to do it 9 months. He can go into his own nursery, which is quite a nice little room. You guys have seen this now.
Yeah.
It's nicely painted, decorated. It was ready for him for moving in at some stage. But 9 months came and went. And then eventually one night he fell asleep in my arms and I took him upstairs and I put him into his crib for the first night, put the baby monitor on for the first time. And to explain to people who haven't read the book, I spent pretty much all night sitting there as a new father watching the baby monitor all night and listening for any noises. And it picks up on motion detection and sound detection and records a little 10-15 second clip. Now, eventually sleep took hold, I fell asleep, woke up in the morning, and as my wife went in to go and see to him at like 8 o'clock, I'm checking through the footage that I didn't see while I was asleep, all the little 10-15 second segments. And then I got to one at 6:50, I think it was, from memory. And it was somebody going in the room. Now, you don't particularly see, you guys have seen this clip, you don't particularly see a person go in a room. You see like the door open, so you see light come into the room.
Yes.
Then you see what appears to be some legs on the far side of the cot. And to explain to the readers, it's an oak cot. It's got rigid bars around it. And this arm appears to go through the bars. Not between them, go actually through the wooden bars. Picks something out of the crib and then goes into the corner and doesn't leave the room.
Yeah.
That's the best way to explain it. Now, I'm watching this. I'm laid in bed as my wife's gone to see to my son in the room behind the master bedroom in the nursery. I'm watching this on my phone on the app, and I shout at her, like, "What? I didn't hear you get up this morning to go in the room." Like the first time I'd watched it. I realised afterwards it wasn't my wife's arm, unless she's got bigger arms than me, because it's quite a big arm that goes into the crib. But for her to get round that bed, you've just seen upstairs, it's quite a tight squeeze to get round the bed. I'm 6'4", it's a double bed. My feet hang about a foot off the end of the bed. So she would wake me up, and she does often if she's going to the toilet or anything. She walks past the end of the bed and clips my feet and wakes me up. So I would have heard her. I've never sleepwalked in her presence. That was my first thought. Did I sleepwalk? It's not my arm anyway. I've tried to recreate it, and you guys have seen the recreations. It's not you can see it's definitely not my arm. It's weird.
It is.
The best way to put it.
I mean, we
very,
watched
very
it on
strange.
loop, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
It's never happened since then.
Yeah.
That was the first night on the baby monitor for him. Baby monitor's on every night when he's in his own bed. But it's never happened since.
You see, we watched that video on loop, didn't we, the other night when we was recording the other night, and we watched it over and over, and we were just like, without being able to see the room properly, we couldn't really get a gist of the placement of the cot and everything, but we were just like, well, it's weird that you can see this almost like a shadow move past the foot of the cot, reaches that side, but it never leaves.
Yep.
You never see.
You don't see it leaving.
No,
see it leave.
you
just
never see it leave.
dissipates in the corner. It just disappears.
It does. It's like the arm retreats back out of the cot, and then it just remains static after that.
Yeah.
It just sort of, as you say, just dissipates.
It's very strange.
And it's a very interesting video to watch. I mean, what was your sort of emotions around that then? I mean, when even in sort of like in hindsight now, looking back, I mean, I can imagine at the time when you watched it, it was probably quite scary. But what are your feelings around it now? Do you feel like it was maybe just someone curious or someone being caring?
I genuinely don't know. I think the way the arm moves doesn't look sinister in any way. It looks quite a caring notion. Obviously, I'd recently lost my mom. In the back of my mind, I'd love to think it was my mom coming to check on him, or somebody coming to check on him that's passed. Do I believe that? I couldn't say. Again, I'd be speculating to say who I thought it was. I genuinely don't know. But I didn't feel scared about it.
Yeah.
I was a little bit creeped out at first, but it didn't necessarily scare me. But what I did, I mean, we talked off camera earlier about the crib video a little bit.
Yeah.
There are debunkers out there that have looked at this and put it up on the YouTube channels and had a look through it and stuff. And I've even provided the raw footage of the original to some of these debunkers to say, look, it's not being clipped in any way, shape or form. This is the original footage. And a few of them said, I've CGI'd it. Now, you've met me. I've got office hands. I work in an office now. I used to be a mechanic, but I work in an office now. If I could do CGI, I wouldn't work in the job that I'm doing now, because I'd be earning a lot more money working in Hollywood or on films or in a studio somewhere for Disney.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I wouldn't have a bloody clue where to start with it for a start. But I've got the raw footage as well, and I've shared this with these people who still say we've CGI'd it. There's always going to be naysayers, I get that.
Of course there is. And to be fair, that was going to be one of the things I wanted to ask you was, what would your answer be to those that do feel the video or any other evidence you've provided over the years? What would your answer be to those that do question the genuity of it? You know, if you could just say anything to them and hope that they would listen to you and just sort of take it seriously what you're saying, what would you say?
It's probably a tough question though, because you're really up against it, aren't you? Because for every person you've got who comes up with some picture or video clip of something that appears supernatural, you're going to have people who go to the far length, like saying it's CGI. How can you argue with that other than saying, well, it isn't, and I don't know how to do that?
Exactly.
And you can't, and you won't convince those people because they don't want to be convinced in any other way. And like we've always said, sometimes it gets to the point where people's explanations for these apparently supernatural events are more ridiculous than the event itself. We spoke a bit about the black-eyed kid phenomenon, of which we've done an episode on. And in one of the theories for debunking that, I mean, you found it particularly ridiculous, Brett, and seemed to make you angry, was that it was actually kids in sunglasses.
Brilliant.
You know, and that's why their eyes appeared jet black.
It's so ridiculous.
It becomes that's less believable than the phenomenon you're discussing, doesn't it?
I think it used to frustrate me a little bit when somebody had questioned stuff about it, because I think the biggest frustration was I'd put a book out there to raise money for a cancer charity.
Yes.
It took a lot for me to put the book out there in the first place because of the profession that I work in and not wanting to be ridiculed. And then for somebody to say you're faking it or it's fake or anything's fake, I know it's not. I can't, there's always going to be naysayers in the world, I'm afraid. And I've got to a stage now where I kind of live with that. You can look at reviews of the book, you'll get 85% of people giving it a 5-star, yet you'll get 1% that gives it a 1-star.
Well,
people have opinions.
Yeah, and you can't control that.
You can't do anything about it, unfortunately. And I am that kind of guy now that just looks at it and says, there's always going to be opinions are like arseholes. Everyone has one.
Yeah, exactly.
So some of them stink.
Yes, that's true.
Yes,
that's true.
So I can't do much about it. But hey ho.
No. So I mean, what would your answer be then to say what is your strongest piece of evidence for the unexplained events in here?
Do you know what I think the strongest bit is? By quite a way as well. Apart from the fact there's been multiple sightings by different people that don't know each other and described are exactly the same.
Yes.
That's big. But if you're talking about EVPs and stuff, it's got to be I Love You, Grace.
Those voices, that you captured.
So the voice that we've captured, and the reason I say that is because that voice was captured when Awakening the Paranormal investigation team came here for the first book. So 3 years ago? About 3 years ago, they came round to the house to do their investigation. That was captured in this room, sat pretty much next to where I am here, on a little table we used to have here, facing that door. I was there that night. There was me and 3 paranormal investigators in the far side of the extension. Now that's probably from here, 15, 20 yard away. And my little night vision camera, little Chinese night vision camera, it's not an expensive one, it's one of these Amazon ones. It's sat in here, and it picks up that voice as if somebody's in this room. Now, I was there that night. I can 100% hand on heart say nobody was in this room. There were 4 people in the house that night. The dogs were at my dad's. My wife was out. There's nobody else in here. But that voice saying, I love you, Grace, is weird on two fronts. One, for the second book, I've had a historian involved, a local historian called Joanna, who's been lovely, and she's found out loads of stuff which you guys will have read, because a lot of people wanted to know more about the land and previous people who've lived in the house when I wrote the second book. One of the previous residents was called Grace. Now, I didn't know that.
That's amazing, isn't it?
I didn't know that until
Yeah.
I'd pretty much finished writing the second book 2 to 3 years after that footage. Now, I didn't find that bit of footage until I did a podcast about 6 months ago, if that makes sense. So one of the guys who was doing a podcast, local guy, called It's Grim Up North podcast, he said to me, have you got that little clip that says "Be quiet" that you captured from the paranormal investigation from the first book? And I said, I have somewhere on my laptop. This is how good I am for CGI, by the way. I said, I have. It's somewhere on my laptop. I'll try and find it. I think I've still got it.
You tech whiz.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So I sat there, headphones on one night, pretty much sat where you are now, Brett, on the sofa with my laptop on my knee, and it's a bit boring watching footage of a door.
A static,
Yeah.
nothing going
But
on.
that camera, for some reason, does it in like 12-minute bounce, does the clips like that. So I'm watching through, there are loads on there. Anyway, I found the bit that said "Be quiet," but while I'm watching that, right at the beginning of the clip, you hear this. It sounds to me like it says, "I love you, Grace," and it sounds
agree,
very
yeah.
clear.
I'd agree with that.
So I heard that, and I sent it to the podcaster saying, trying to find this "Be quiet" bit, but I've just heard this, and the clip that I sent him was about 55 seconds long. Like, I'm not very, like I say, I'm not amazing with computers, so I just like clipped it there and just gone, sent it him. And he messaged me back straight away with like a shocked face. I've still got the message, I can show you the message on my phone in a minute, which would be quite funny. But he sent me like a shocked face back saying, can hear that "I love you, Grace," but on the same clip it says "Be quiet" at the end of it. Is that what you were talking about?
Wow.
So I didn't realise I'd sent him that on the same clip. It's on the same 55 seconds.
Wow.
That's just
Honestly.
a really weird coincidence.
It is a
Like,
massively weird
so
coincidence,
weird. Honestly.
but I can show you the actual WhatsApp message between the two of us, because I sent him like a picture of me with headphones going, what is that?
I was like, this just made me go goosey.
But also, the other coincidence is the fact that I called my wife Grace in the book. Her
my
name
God,
isn't
yeah.
Grace.
Yeah, of course.
And I called
Oh
her
yeah,
Grace.
I'm sat here thinking
I called
that
her
she is
Grace.
called Grace.
Yeah, I
Oh,
called
yeah.
her Grace in the
Yeah.
book.
Yeah, of course. Honestly,
Which
like,
is just mad, and I never knew that somebody was called Grace
Yeah, of
until
course.
a few months ago when I spoke to the historian.
I'm glad you said that you felt that was one of your most compelling pieces of evidence, because I'd agree with
Yeah.
you. I mean, when Ghosts on Trent, they snipped it into their episode, didn't
Yes,
they?
they did,
some of the
yeah,
bits
yeah.
along the way,
Yeah.
because obviously, as you'd reference them just in general sort of conversation with them, then they would snip that in, so there was some context for people who weren't aware. And when I heard that, it made my hair stand on end, and I haven't really got much to it. So yeah, I beat you to it. I beat you to it on the ball, you know. But
Yeah.
what I've got,
Really
all right,
good,
it made my follicles peak. You know, but and it still does, because it is so clear, I think.
I do as well.
And
I think it's one of those again, though, that other people could hear something different. So what I did with it is the right thing. I put it on Facebook without any subtitles or anything and said, what do you think this says?
best way, 100%.
And I was just getting message after message saying, I love you, Grace. I love you, Grace. There were a few others that were very weird that were nothing to do with I love you, Grace. But the consensus was, I love you, Grace.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
it's
very
a great,
freaky.
It's a great piece of
And
evidence.
I don't know how I didn't hear it the first time round 2 or 3 years ago, because it is that clear.
Yeah.
I have no idea how that wasn't heard when I watched the footage back then.
It only takes a couple of seconds of not concentrating though,
To miss something.
and just miss
And
something.
that's the other
you
thing,
know.
how much other stuff have I missed?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's on
Yeah,
there.
very true. It's very true. You just don't know, do
Yeah.
you?
And I think this with paranormal stuff in general is everybody's so careful to try and explain things away
Yeah.
that you probably do miss a a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so with that in mind, actually, I mean, you've lived in the property for so long now, like just over 20 years, but you know, with that many instances caught on camera, you know, mysterious figures reaching into the court, voices recorded. I mean, has any of the activity ever made you like sort of fear for your family's safety? And how have you balanced the notion of staying versus leaving?
That's a good shout. I think that over the past 5 years, we've renovated the house to within an inch of its life. So we've spent quite a small fortune turning it from a lad pad, which it was throughout my 20s and 30s.
Lads.
Into a family home. When my wife and my stepson moved in, who's now gone to university, and now obviously I've got my son here. So we've made it a proper family home, and it's really nice. We both like it. Even like the silly things like we had the house rewired so all the switches are where you would want them.
Yes.
With USBs in them and all that sort of little silly things that you don't think about, that we have actually looked at moving house. But I don't want to sell this place because you will never find another place like it.
True.
And I know you won't, from speaking to other people who are interested in the paranormal and stuff. They're like, don't sell the house, don't sell it. And I'm like, I never would. I'd rent it out, but I'd never sell it.
Yeah.
So we've been looking for another property because, as I said, my wife's not a big keen fan on this, and I'd be scared to death of anything. My son does speak now, and I think if it would creep me out if he came and told me something. If he came and said, somebody just spoke to me, or this has just happened.
And you find children are sometimes
more receptive
because they're more open, more receptive.
Yeah, I was just about to say, and there is that notion that sort of children seem to be more receptive to it. I mean, me and my wife and her sister, so my sister-in-law, have only had a very similar conversation. Well, we was talking about it when we just got some food before we came. Some of the things that they've experienced, and I suppose there is always that sort of, I'll say fear that like all of a sudden your son's going to be interacting with it.
Yeah, it's in the back of my mind. He's 2.5 now. If anything happened untoward at all towards any of my family, I'd be out of here like a shot.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I love my family. My family's my biggest asset.
100%.
So if anything happened to my family, then I'd be out of here like a shot.
And as well, these things aren't always horrible things, are they?
No.
The video of the hand reaching into the cot, I must say, as Brett said, we watched that on loop.
Yeah.
I didn't get a bad negative feeling about that. I think you might find it creepy just because it's not normal.
Yeah.
Well, it's neither of you two, is it? It's not you or you.
No. That's so exactly what I said. It didn't scare me. It creeped me out.
Yeah.
But then when you start to think of, is this actually some friendly entity and it's checking up on him, it actually then becomes pretty nice and sweet.
Yeah.
And, you know, not something that you're going to go running from your family home for.
Yeah.
So I think, there's the temptation to think that everything paranormal is in some way sinister. That's not correct, is it?
No.
Sometimes it's nice.
Yeah. I think
you've had a lot of things with your granddad, and those things are actually quite nice, even though they're a bit weird.
Yeah.
But overall, it's nice, and you wouldn't want to not happen.
I mean, we've sort of come to the feeling now that if something does happen, it's just my granddad being cheeky because he was a bit like that, you know. So I mean, even my wife now, if something happens and we're a bit like, what was that all about? You know, even Charlotte now will just turn around and go, our old packaging, cheeky sod. You know, she never knew him. You know, but still, it's like, so it doesn't scare us. Yeah. So I can relate. You know, sometimes it's just that feeling of like, well, there's someone here, you know, but it's not here to hurt us.
Yeah.
You know. So I suppose you have
but it still is sometimes weird, isn't it?
100%. Yeah, because it's not natural, is it? So it's supernatural, as they say. Yeah. I mean, as the property has been thrust more and more into the spotlight, you've obviously done your best to protect your privacy and everything. But have you sort of like put measures and limits in place to sort of ensure that its real location and the real identities of your friends and your family don't garner any unwanted attention? Yeah,
I've had to. So throughout both the books, the names and addresses and everything has been changed completely. More so, like I say, I was writing under a pseudonym myself. William Seagrave is not my name. I'm called Liam. I'm not going to tell you my surname. But I'm called Liam. But yeah, I've done that as a complete protection over everybody. Partly because some of the people, like myself, didn't really want to be... I didn't want to put my face or name behind this.
Yeah.
Because I was scared of what people might think or feel about me and what would be different about that. It hasn't worked out like that, to be fair. And it got to a stage where I could put my face behind it and push sales a little bit further, or not. And I took the sort of high road and did it.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Good for you, yeah.
And it worked and has worked since. So I'm happy with that, but I'm happy with people just knowing that I'm called Liam and that's me, that's my face.
Yeah.
But it was a big thing. I think the first time people saw my face was on the Ghosts on Trent initial interview I did with them, and I was mega nervous. They've got a big following, so I was mega nervous about it.
Yeah. Well, again, that's how I entered the story myself.
Yeah.
You know, and it's because of some of the other sort of good paranormal investigation YouTube channels that I do watch, that they came as a recommendation, and the video came as a recommendation, and then that's how I found it. But yeah, they got recommended to me because they do have such a big following. So to put your face and half of your real name on there, you know, you're sort of broadcasting yourself then onto a global scale. It's a global format, and anyone can find it. So that was a huge step, and you know, I think good on you, you know, because it's good for the paranormal circuit, for those that are wanting to find evidence of the paranormal, and it's obviously very good for the cause, you know, your book. So I think it's a win-win.
And at the same time, protection, because there's, I think, two risks with the paranormal world and people attached to it is, one, you do open yourself up to ridicule from the ardent non-believers. And then also, we were talking earlier about some of the ghost hunt evenings. It attracts its fair share of utter cranks as well, and you don't want those people turning up on your doorstep.
No, it's very true. It's very true.
So I think it's essential. Definitely.
Yeah, I had to do that.
And I don't think it takes away from anything that you're trying to say just because you use a pseudonym and you don't publish the address. That doesn't detract from it at all.
Why should it? You know, I mean, it doesn't. It just to hear of these stories and you know to read your experiences. Doesn't mean that, like, I mean, we've been very, very fortunate that you've allowed us to come here, but I still wouldn't be any less enthralled by the story if I had never stepped foot in this house.
I was going to say, you guys know the house is real because you sat in it.
Yeah, exactly. That's it, we're just in some other guy's house.
He's that good at CGI.
I put you in the Matrix.
But this is it. I mean, but like, we're fortunate enough to be in the real number 333. But if this had never happened, I wouldn't find the story any less fascinating or intriguing.
Do you know what I did find fascinating? I mentioned to you guys, I've been on a couple of these ghost hunts and things. I went onto a local place at Abbeydale Industrial Hamlet near here. Cracking place, by the way, great night. And somebody said to me, "What, you're the guy who's written the book?" We were chatting about it. You're the guy who's written the book. And I was like, yeah. And there were loads of people in the thing that had heard of it, which is just madness.
Great.
But one of them said, "I know where it is. There's a guy who was taking people back and charging people to go back to the house." And I went,
"No.
Where was this?" And they were like, "A place called Winkerbank, which is 10 minutes from here." There's a guy, honestly, has been selling tickets for people to go into the house at Winkerbank and claiming that he's William Seagrave.
Amazing, what an idiot.
Which is fantastic, by the
way. That is crazy, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Honestly. But you know what, that reminds me a little bit of De Grey Street, that.
Yeah.
There's a house, in our last episode, actually, by the time this episode goes out, we'll have had our Christmas special, but the episode before that, we had an interview with Mike Covell, who was telling you he was a Hull historian, paranormal researcher, and we had come to learn of a house called, it's known as The Hostel, quote unquote. So dramatic. and it's this house on De Grey Street in Hull, and it's meant to have this horrendous history behind it, incredibly haunted. They still do ghost nights in it now, tours, and people like always experience things. People come out being sick and all sorts, right? It turns out it's an absolute load of shit. And Mike,
historically speaking,
yeah, whatever people do experience in there, if they do feel it, then fair enough, you know. But what the result of that is, who knows? But from a historical perspective,
there's nothing there.
There's nothing there. There's no history to
it.
And
it doesn't fit with the explanation of, there was X amount of children who died there or were poorly treated or whatever it is. And then when Mike did his research, there's just nothing evidence of that. And that's also what I liked about your story, is that you got the historian involved.
Oh, she was great.
And that actually backs up quite a lot of the stuff and makes it clearer for you. And that's just the massive contrast there with De Grey Street and here.
Yeah. Because you've got with De Grey Street, you've got this guy who's bought this house, made up this fictional history to it, and he's just selling tickets to go and spend time there. And it's outfitted in that, you've got this beautiful home, but he's outfitted it, mate. I'll show you some pictures before we go. It's absolutely laughable. Every room
it's
looks
the cliche
like,
of what you
dolls everywhere. It's not. It doesn't even look like it was ever lived in, because it looks
I've got a rocking horse upstairs, but that is genuinely my son's rocking horse.
Why? Get it in the bin.
It goes on. It goes on it.
No way. No, we all know ghosts like not rocking horses. I've seen enough films. So we was talking about like some of the people you've had here, Ghosts on Trent being one of them. Can you just give us a really quick rundown of some of the investigators you've worked with, some of the researchers, and what of their findings? What do you think probably surprised you the most?
It's a very good question. Okay, so of course, when I finished the first book, I'd handed around the draft to a few friends and family and said, "What do you think? Not a writer. What do you think of this? Is it good enough for me to sell and make some money for the cancer charity?" They all said they loved it, but they wanted more. So that's when I first started getting people in. So I got Tim Doyle, who's a local psychic medium, head of a spiritualist church. He really surprised me. So I'm quite open about this. I'm not a massive believer of mediumship. But he changed my mind a little bit when he came in the house. So I told him my name was Mr. G, didn't tell him my address. Bear in mind, I must have sounded like a crazy person trying to get a medium round to the house to do a reading on the house. It's not a lot of mediums do this, by the way. But every time I spoke to somebody, they were like, "I'm not coming to the house on my own if you're not going to tell me your name and the address." And I was like, "No, I get you, to be fair.
That's a good point.
I probably wouldn't."
It's a really good point. Sounds like you're going to get abducted.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But eventually, I got recommended this guy from a few different people, and they were like, "You need to get in touch with him. He's the head of the spiritualist church. He teaches people mediumship. He's brilliant." He came round that day. He was at the end of the path. I was on the phone to him. I'd only given him the first 3 digits of the postcode. I said, "When you get to this bit, phone me and I'll guide you in." What I didn't want him to do is be able to get online and find anything out about the property, even when he was sat outside the house.
Very true.
So I guided him in by phone as I stood at the door under the name of Mr. G. And when I saw him come in, I said, "Keep your phone to your ear because I want to make sure that you're not going on your phone before you walk in this property." So he knew before he walked in that I was very, very sceptical about this sort of stuff. He then stood in front of me. I'm sat on the arm of this chair, which is next to me. And he stood in the middle of the room and he started talking. I didn't put this in the book. And I can't... How can I explain this to you? He went through 2 or 3 things that he should not have known about me, and said that they were coming from a young lad who's... I think I explained this bit in the book. There's a young lad, 17-year-old lad, that used to come in and bring coal for the fire. And he pointed to where the fire used to be, which is not there anymore, but it's not hard to explain that a fireplace would have been somewhere central in the house. So I'm not daft enough to believe that that's from mediumship. But when he started talking about these few things, I'm trying to think how I can explain this without I can't. They were personal things.
Yeah.
They were
That's all
personal
right.
things to me. But
Yeah.
he went through
Convinced you.
2 or 3 things. He convinced me to a certain extent. I wasn't completely 100%. I am a believer in this. But he said, look, I know I need to turn your head so you understand why I'm here today, what I'm going to do, da-da-da-da. Let me talk you through these few things that he's telling me right now. And I was like, wow, okay. I think I did actually put in the book something about my right knee and something about my wife. And something about my wife going to hospital about something or phoning the doctor about something. They were a couple of bits off the cuff that I could put in there. The other bits were more personal.
That's
and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I've had him here. I then had Awakening the Paranormal, the paranormal investigation team that we've talked about. Ghosts on Trent, of course, they were brilliant. Spent 24 hours here.
Yeah. I think some of their best some of the best stuff they captured was when you all just went out.
And you're here now, and there's no settling noise in this house, is there?
No, there isn't. So, and I think that's why now, when I'm thinking back to that footage,
Yep.
I mean, it sold me anyway, but there is a lot of noise in this house. I know they've cut it all down.
No, it was only an hour and 80 minutes, I think it was. We were out of the house.
Crazy to hear that much in that amount of time, because again, they've trimmed it down to fit within that episode.
Yeah, of course.
But still, there's a lot of noise in that, and this is again, it's windy tonight.
Yeah, but it's very, very windy outside.
We've not heard anything.
No.
And I'm being very thinky about trying
quiet house, isn't it?
Yeah. And I'm really trying to listen in case we do hear anything, but I've not heard a thing. So to hear that kind of noise.
That's what I said after that day. There were a few people said, you must be a bit disappointed not a lot happened. I said, to be fair, no, because I could be here 2-3 months and nothing might happen, and then we'll have a week of stuff that does happen. So no, I'm not disappointed. But then when I heard those noises back and the potential other thing that was in the window, I don't know what that was. I still want them to come back and do some videoing and have a look at that.
Yeah.
Tough one, that one, because it certainly does look like a figure in the window.
It does.
But
could be pareidolia. But we need to check it with same lighting, same camera, water on the back of the window because it's raining that night.
Yeah.
It needs to be checked properly.
Yeah.
Who else have I had round? Deborah Davis, spiritualist medium, came round and 8 microphones placed around the house, and My Haunted Hotel have been round as well. But over the past couple of years, the amount of people in the paranormal world that I've met, that Danny Robbins, Yvette Fielding, the list just goes, it's absolutely crazy.
And Danny Robbins is one of the names at the minute, which is probably at the top in it because of the whole uncanny thing, because he did his books and he did his radio,
love his stuff.
and he's an absolute legend. He really is. What was it like meeting Danny Robbins?
Great. It was weird at first because they contacted me to go on the first TV show when they were doing the TV stuff. And it just so happened the week that they were filming, I was on a family holiday in Cornwall.
Bastards!
Which you'll have read about in the second book.
Yeah.
I was imbued at the time. And they said, look, it's the only week we've paid for the camera crew for that week. So you need to do it. And I was like, I can't. I'm on a family holiday.
And they've not been in touch to come back?
We've spoke 2 or 3 times. I spoke 2 or 3 times with them and with Danny as well. But no, we haven't done it yet.
No,
but I'd love to be fair. I think it'd be great. And I think it's a really good story for it. I mean, I follow Uncanny now since then. Didn't know about them until they contacted me, to be fair. And then I started listening to podcasts and thought, this is great.
Yeah.
Really good, really well produced. I enjoy the skeptic side of it with the believer stuff. It works well.
It's a good format, and I don't think I'd be out of 10 if I said that it's kind of a format we like to do with our shows. We don't want to just go straight in and say that everything we're talking about is fact. Everything we talk about is 100% supernatural, paranormal. We like to...
And I think it works because you're slightly on the more believer side, even though you've got a healthy level of skepticism.
Yep.
And I'm probably more on the skeptical side, but with a healthy amount of open-mindedness.
Yep.
And I think that works well looking at it like that, because it's not interesting to watch just somebody who's purely sceptical, and even if a ghost came and slapped him in the face, they wouldn't believe still. They'd come up with some ridiculous explanation. Just as it's not very interesting to see somebody who believes every single creak is the work of ghosts, you know. So I think in whatever type of format of show or podcast or book that you're doing to do with the paranormal, you need that balance.
I agree.
I think that's why Uncanny does work so well. It's good to hear what the skeptics come up with, and I think that's why it'd be great to have them around here, because
I genuinely would like the investigation side of it.
Exactly, because you've already got so much of the legwork done with your historian who's done the work on the house. You could present that to them, then all the evidence that you've already gathered that you could present to them, and just go, well, there you go, I've practically done all the work for you.
Have that, work on that, see if you can come up with any answers. Give me some answers.
Exactly, you've done it for them, haven't you? And I think it seems stupid that it hasn't been on, really. But I'm sure it will. Yeah, I'm sure it'll come back.
Look, one day maybe we shall see.
I really hope so. So have you ever had any, talking about skeptics actually, but have you ever invited skeptical investigators to the house then, to try and test whether or not some of the activity can be reproduced through natural causes?
Not.
Or do you think?
I mean, to be fair, Paul and Mark from Ghosts on Trent are very, very sceptical first before jumping to any conclusions. So I'd say yes, because Paul is massively that way inclined. Mark, I mean, going back to that image in the window.
Yes.
Paul was straight away, it's pareidolia. I'm going to tell you about it, but I think it's pareidolia. Don't say anything about it. I was like, no, I want to leave it, and we'll see if people message us and see what they think. I like to hear what other people's opinions are before I put my 2 pence in. And I still haven't. I'm still sat on the fence with that. Mark was more believer in it. Paul was skeptical, like you two.
Yeah.
Paul was skeptical about it.
Yeah.
Funny you should say about the skepticism side of things. I've got a friend of mine. I'm trying to think what I've got. I've called him Ben in the book. He was there on the day the sofa lifted up. He was sat on the other sofa just across there. Still very good friends with him. And he is, how can I explain Ben? He doesn't take any prisoners. He's very, very black and white. Doesn't believe in anything ghostly. He was there the day that sofa lifted. And when I've asked him for how he feels about it and stuff, he went, I don't know. I definitely had the bang, but whatever.
Who would that be?
Yeah. We
just
know, don't we? Strings.
I'm not saying it was a ghost or anything like that. It happened. I heard the bang. That's like blah blah blah. That's his feelings about it. Now the other week he came around here. This was only about a month ago, and we were in the middle of a week of madness. He comes round. I walked in with my son and I'm potty trained at the minute, so I took him straight to the toilet downstairs, which is through the kitchen, 2 doors in on the right hand side. He walked in, sat on the sofa here, middle of the day. We'd just been out for some lunch and we'd come back to watch football. So as I've walked through, nobody else in the house, and as I've mentioned earlier, there's nobody living next door. And he sits down, and I walk back into the room and he's looking very confused. And he sort of looked at me over his glasses and said, "Who was that arguing?" I went, "What do you mean?" He went, "I've just heard somebody having a full row, as in man and woman arguing with each other." I said, "What about? Could you hear what they were saying?" He said, "No. I couldn't hear what the words they were saying, but they were full at each other's necks like they were going to kill each other."
Damn.
And I said, "Where was it coming from?" And he went, "Well, I stood up to look outside." He said, "But I realised it wasn't coming from outside. It was from in here. It was either through that wall or upstairs." And that wall is to next door, by the way, being a semi-detached property. The wall behind me is to next door. So they are thick walls. If you were to hear an argument next door, which I've heard in the past, you would hear it, but you'd hear a very muffled voice. These are old houses. You'd hear a very muffled voice. You wouldn't hear it like somebody was shouting in the house. So my thoughts are it's probably in our house somewhere. There's nobody else in the house at the time. And when I explained that to him, he said, "I'm not having it. I'm not having it. There's definitely somebody in the house or there's somebody next door." And I said, "Come with me then." And I walked him round next door looked through the windows with him, checked everything out. Nobody there, no furniture in the house. And he's the biggest skeptic I know, and doesn't believe in any of this. And he actually said, as we were walking through the door that day, when's your next book coming out? It was just before the book had come out. And he said, when's the next book coming out? I still don't believe in any of that bullshit. And after that had happened, I said to him, come on then, explain that to me. And he went, well, I can't explain it. He said, but it happened. Heard it, and it wasn't anybody around your house. And I've checked the CCTV feed afterwards. It wasn't anybody near the house.
Amazing.
Very strange.
It does just remind me of either Kirk, my brother, or Mark.
Yeah.
Because they'd just be like, well...
Coming up with ridiculous explanations, I think.
Yeah. So, you know, we've mentioned a couple of times about the historian you've had here. So,
Yes.
what, you know, don't go too much into detail, but what have you managed to uncover in terms of the history of the house, and how has that eventually sort of lined up with some of the experiences or the events that people have witnessed in the house?
Yeah, so Joanne came forward. She was just a fan of the first book, and she's got an affinity for local and national archives. She loves it. And
Sounds very much like Mike.
She spent literally like 40 hours plus going through absolutely everything to bring me information about all previous residents, the land the house sits on, everything, you name it, I've got it. It was weird for me because I'd been told when I wrote the first book that it was just one lady who owned the house from new. And she had a partner at some point, but never had a husband. Turns out this lady moved in 1950. The house was from 1936. So there have been many, at times, two different couples living in the house, because that's how it used to be in the early 30s.
True. Yeah.
Sort of post-war. So there were two couples and then somebody else. And then another two couples and another two couples. And then in 1950, I called them the Tompkins. Obviously, I've changed all their names because they've still got surviving family members as well. So the Tompkins moved in 1950, and it was husband, wife, and son. That I wasn't even aware she had a husband or a son. So that was strange. But also finding out that her mother lived with them for nigh on 20 years and died in the house. Her husband died in the house. It was fascinating finding all this stuff out. I've still got, at the minute, by the way, about 5 years of this house where I can't find any history, and we're still trying to dig that up to find out who was here. And this is quite recent as well. This is like 96 to 2001.
That's quite strange, isn't it?
We cannot get the history on it. It's because it was rented out in that time. So somebody owned it. I know the person who owned it. I've spoken with him.
But just not who lived.
But I want to know who lived here, and it was a different resident every year for those 5 years.
Wow.
So I'd like to find them and ask them, if anything, what happened to them while they were here.
Have you ever heard any reports from other neighbours? Obviously, there was the chap who...
Only the chap,
lady across the street there.
Chap across the road. And he actually mentioned when he was here that a friend of his, when he'd been there, had also seen the lady across here after she'd passed.
Wow.
So
anything
I could have interviewed him as well, to be fair, at the same time.
Yeah.
Friend of his.
Anything from the direct neighbours there? Noises?
Nothing, which is strange because some of the noises that we hear are loud.
Yeah.
Loud noises. So it's strange for them not to... And I have had different neighbours next door over the past 21 years. There's been different neighbours through the years, but none of them have ever reported anything to me.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I mean, I'm always fascinated by the theory or the phenomenon that a place is like a spiritual hub, if you will. And it kind of thrives and almost feeds on energies and emotions, sort of conjure paranormal activity. And then that way it can sort of draw ghosts or spirits. Do you think the house has ever sort of like collected other people's memories or energies? Or, because I think in your book, someone mentioned that there was like a portal.
There's a vortex.
Or a vortex,
That was that chap, the psychic medium, Tim Doyle.
And how do you feel about that? Do you think that there's a potential for that, or are you leaning more about the idea that it's maybe just past residents?
It could potentially be past residents on the fact of the bit about the I love you Grace that we've got, and somebody being called Grace here, and the other piece of Mrs. Nielsen, who was Mrs. Tompkins' mom, is the lady that everybody believes they have seen here. I've shown the photos that we've got from the archives, which I can't share online. I can show you guys while you're here, and I will show you them before you leave.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But I can't obviously share them publicly because you've still got surviving family members.
Yep.
But I've shown 5 out of the 6 people who've seen the lady, have seen the image of Mrs. Nielsen and gone, that's her. That's what I saw. And they don't know each other. So that's interesting.
For me, again, with the sceptical, this is where things become really convincing. When you can tie it with the history. Because the amount of things that Mike's debunked that I've always thought were just true facts about certain places in Hull. Almost disappointingly so. Because
you've lived on that sort of knowledge for so long.
Folklore.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's one of the pubs where, apparently it was part of the gunpowder plot, and they still call it the plotting room upstairs. And I managed to go up there once. It was really atmospheric. It was cool, all the wood panelling, as you'd imagine if you pictured it. And then we got on one of Mike's ghost walks around the town, and he specifically mentioned that, and he's just like, it was built 100 years after that all happened or something like that. It's just complete nonsense.
Yeah, and it was just unbelievable. And the fact that they're still sort of churning this out to be fact, and it's like, oh, that's pretty cool.
And most people in Hull believe that, don't they? Like,
and I didn't know there's a ghost walk around Hull either.
Well, it's mainly Mike's, isn't it?
Mike, he runs something called Amazing Hull Tours, and he does sort of like 2 sides of it. So he does historical and then paranormal, and he goes through he does like a couple of routes around different areas.
Well, he's picking up, and he does a lot of the village. Like you mentioned, you've been to Hessel. He does one around there because there's a lot of stories of smugglers around. Because it's on the foreshore of the River Humber there. So he does a few, doesn't he? But again, it's always those stories that you've always believed to be true, quite cool. Not necessarily ghostly history, just history. And then he just completely debunks it. You're like, oh, bloody hell.
That's it. And it's funny because in that episode, when we interviewed him, he said, because he's managed to debunk quite a bit, he's actually had death threats because of it. Because he's destroyed
people's livelihoods. They've gone out with a folklore
destroyed
story.
People's history, if you will. And that was
I get that.
we was looking.
He was a big critic, obviously, of the Grey Street house that Brett mentioned earlier, and he got a lot of backlash from debunking a lot of those stories.
Because he's trying to. Well, he's not trying to do it purposefully, but he's just trying to show that this isn't genuine. But someone clearly wants to make a living out of this.
Of course.
And they're like turning around going, shut the fuck up, because I'm trying to earn a fucking few quid here. But he's like, but it's not true. So it's quite funny, really. But we was laughing because I said, who knew a historian could get so much heat? Because he's there and he's like, I'm getting death threats and all sorts.
Imagine being a figure of hate for for debunking
people's livelihood, especially a pub and stuff, won't it? People's livelihood.
Yeah, that's it. And they're like,
living off the back of it.
It's up there, they're plotted and all of it. No, they didn't. Don't talk shit. Yeah, it's amazing. So since the second book was published, without giving too much away, in case you intend to follow up with a third, have there been any significant new incidents or escalations, if you will, that you won't mind sharing?
One huge one, which I actually shared with you guys earlier, which I'm going to show you a little bit of how I tried to debunk this after we've discussed this. I'll show you that. So during that week of madness that we just talked about, and Ben was round, on the following night to that, it was the following night to that, which was only a couple of months back, I'm sat where I'm sat now, my wife sat where Brett's sat now, and we just ordered it. She'd actually cooked an Indian for us, but I'd been to the shop to get some naan breads to go with the Indian. So I've sat down. That table that's in the corner for the listeners, there's a table next to me that's like a big old railway cart. That was in the middle of the room. That's where we were eating our Indian, sort of sat around. Just as we started to tuck in, I was talking to my wife, who was sat over yonder, sort of diagonally across from me on the sofa, and behind her, I saw, and you guys, if you turn to your left, you'll be able to see a gap in the door. That's probably about a foot from this angle. It's about a foot.
Yeah.
I saw the shadow of it looked like a man's head and torso, arms, everything, walk all the way up to the edge of the door frame and then just disappear. Like tonight, I knew there's nobody else in the house. The back's all locked up. We've got some bifold doors out back. We've got another door out back. Other than that, there's no windows in there that open. There's nobody in the house. My wife very quickly jumped up and came and sat over here and said she wouldn't be sitting over there again.
I think I'm going to do the same.
But I went and stood in the kitchen and walked, and I'll show you guys this afterwards, after we've done the recording. I walked as if I was going to walk in the room, and where I stopped is where the shadow, before, if you were sat here, so I'm trying to explain this for the listeners to hear this.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it?
So if you're sat where I'm sat now and you can see sort of a gap of a foot wide in the door diagonally, I'm walking through the kitchen. I asked my wife to sit here and I said, right, when do you see my shadow go to the door frame and disappear? It was literally the step before you would see me appear in the doorway.
Wow. So yeah, really close.
So it was basically what I'm sat here seeing. If it had gone another step, I'd have seen whatever it was.
Yeah.
In the doorway.
Do you want to swap seats?
And I could literally see, and I'm going to show you after this, I could literally see nose, chin, neck, full shadow walking against the wall of a person as if they were going to walk in the room.
Fucking hell. That is insane.
The next night after that, we had two big, I went to recreate what it was of going around the kitchen like a madman, slamming the microwave and slamming the oven door and trying to find out what it was. We have soft closed doors. It's quite a new kitchen. You've seen it. Mm-hmm. The soft closed doors. But if you grab those soft closed doors and slam them, that's what noise I heard. But twice. Bang, bang. Really loud. That was the day after we'd had the curry incident. And it wasn't at night. I was actually sat here on a work call. My wife was just bringing me some food through for my dinner. Lunch, dinner, we call it dinner.
My wife will be happy to hear you, because we have that argument a lot, unfortunately. Yeah. So if she's listening to this, she'll be well happy.
And I'm sat with my son, working from home that day, so I'm just on a call. She's bringing me through a sandwich. I heard that as well. There was a noise in the kitchen.
Yeah, there was.
What did it sound like that?
Just sounded like a click, didn't it?
Yeah. Loudish.
Yeah,
almost like a metallic click.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I heard that as well.
Yeah. Nice.
You can get to do it again.
Do you want to do that again? They never do it on demand.
Don't like you, Brit.
I did hear it though.
Yeah. It was clear, wasn't it?
That was clear.
Yeah. So it's one of them settling noises we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, maybe so. I'm hoping so.
Just lost my train of thought completely now.
Should we two loud bangs?
Two loud bangs on the doors, yes. Yeah. They literally, I recreated it by slamming the doors twice. That was the third thing that happened on the week of madness that we had that week.
Wow. That is
so
crazy.
Yes, things still happen. I literally have 12 things written down that would make 12 fantastic chapters of a new book. Am I going to write one? As we say at the minute, no, because my son's 2.5 and it takes me away from them way too much.
Yeah.
I want to. So I'm actually potentially following in your footsteps. I want to start a podcast.
Yeah.
In January.
Great way of doing it.
It would be, wouldn't it? Yeah, just
I think it'd be a good way of getting out a chapter each time or whatever.
Yeah.
And I can actually interview some of the people that have had stuff happen to them here as well, because nobody's heard from them.
Yeah.
They've just heard my dulcet tones.
I think that'd be amazing.
No, I think it's a fantastic idea, and people who, guests who would appear on it, there's still that level of anonymity,
Of course,
unless people know these people and listen to the podcast, they'll recognise the voice. But to people like us, absolutely, it doesn't matter. You could call them whatever you want. that voice is just one of millions we hear, you know, listening to podcasts.
It's my wife who's worried because she says that it's not me, by the way. She says she sounds like Mickey Mouse on any recordings. So,
but you know what? Like we
Again,
all
no
hear,
one likes their own voice, do they?
I don't.
No, I mean, that's one of the things that came to mind when we decided to do a podcast. I was just like, oh yeah, but I sound like a right camp idiot, you know, like. But then I was just like, yeah, but you know what? I don't care. You know, who cares? You know, this is something
I
we want
don't
to
think
do.
anyone likes the sound of their own voice on audio.
Kat was the same when she joined us for that Black Eyed Children episode. Kat was just like, oh no, but I hate my voice. I was like, oh, shut up.
Yeah,
but,
exactly. Yeah.
But you know, but she sounds great on the podcast.
Yeah.
And you know,
Well, my wife's obviously seen the lady twice. I need to interview her.
100%.
I have to.
Yeah. You know, she's a prime witness, isn't she?
Yeah. Yep. And she's been there for a lot of other events as well. So.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. I mean, actually, that was going to be one of the things that I was going to ask. I was going to ask how many incidents you've logged, but to be fair, you've just answered that. But what is your method then? I mean, is it a case of you just put it in your phone or?
Literally, on my phone, on my notes.
Yeah.
I wrote the majority of the book on notes on my phone.
Yeah.
So literally on notes on my phone, I just got bullet points and I just put down time, date, temperature now, because I'm trying to investigate if there is some sort of cycle to it, sort
Very
of thing.
good. Yeah,
temperature
100%.
would be a good thing to put down. And then just literally just jot down what's happened. What happened? What was I doing that day? What happened?
Yeah. I think that's the beauty of technology as well, though. Now, isn't it? We've always got a notepad to hand.
Easier ways to do it. Yeah.
I'm just straight on it, and like I say, there's 12 chapters there already logged, done. If you like, not completely done chapters, just bullet point of this happened, this happened, this happened. This is how I felt about it. This is how my wife felt. This is where my son was at the time. Whatever. Because it's weird now. You'll notice a big contrast from the first book to the second. The first book is about basically friends.
Yeah.
Me and friends. The second book is pretty much me and my wife.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's
it's a
because
different part of your life.
Yeah, exactly. I think because by the time you've reached book 2, the dynamic of your life has changed.
Completely.
You've become a family man, where before you was, like we said, almost like a bachelor, weren't you? You was living that bachelor life. But book 2, you've reached that point where you have become a family man, and this house, which was a frat house, if you want to call it that, has become...
really? A bachelor pad, a bloody frat house.
Whatever. Whatever. You know what I meant.
Yeah.
But it's now become a family home.
Yeah, it is.
And therefore, the people who are going to notice this activity is you and your family.
Yeah.
So, but, I mean, would you say that it's changed your perspectives on the supernatural? I mean, would you say it's maybe brought into question how you feel about supernatural, religion, death? You know, has it made you question those sorts of things?
Of course, yeah. I think over the past couple of years, probably the death side of things probably more than ever, because I've lost friends and family before, but losing your mum's a different question altogether. So I think you kind of question, is there anything beyond? Is there any sort of life after death? That sort of thing. I suppose everybody has that question. I'd love to think that there was for people's loved ones out there, that something else does happen, or if they go to a better place, that sort of thing. That'd be great. But I don't. For my wife's Catholic, so yeah, I'm Christian, but don't really follow.
Yeah.
I don't go to church. I don't I'm not of. Yeah, I don't really follow it. Whereas my wife is Catholic, so.
Yeah, somebody on that note asked me once with my job. Yeah, I've been there for people dying and I've seen it happen, and I've some kids been holding their hands when it's happened. And somebody asked me, given the job you do, does it make you more or less believe in life after death? And my honest answer is it really does make me believe in it more. And to my mind, from what I've seen, everything that makes that person them, when they've died, it's just gone. And, we're all essentially made out of the same stuff.
Yeah.
But I think what separates us is what some people would call a soul, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah.
But definitely there's something there that suddenly isn't, and it must go somewhere. That's my my take on it anyway.
I think
we're on the subject.
I think so my sister-in-law, she lost her mum sadly a number of years ago now, and young as well, and apparently her mum, when she was she was going that way, and she was gonna leave us, she had said to her, she'd said, if I can show you that I'm here, I will
come back and do it.
But she said that she doesn't feel that she's ever had a sign to say that she is, and she said that it's kind of made her question whether or not there is something there or not. But my answer to that was like, if we could all come back so easily, we all would, wouldn't we?
Everyone would be here, wouldn't they?
And I think sometimes it's more of a case of, is it really a choice? Can we choose that easily to stay or not? And maybe some of us, it just happens because of whatever we've experienced in life that it keeps us here. But again, if it was a choice, of course all of us would make sure we all got to wherever we was going safely, and we were there. I mentioned before we started recording about like my granddad, and that I think he was always trying to show me, give me a sign that he was there, to let me know that he was there. And ever since I did the Ouija board, it kind of like has all sort of really settled down now. And but what about my other relatives? I've got another granddad who passed away. I've got a grandma who passed away I was very close with. But maybe it's just not that easy.
I think it adds to the unexplained thing, and not to get too sort of soppy and philosophical, but I once read I'm sure it was a Native American sort of take on that thing of coming back after you're dead to give the living a sign, and they likened it to a certain type of fly that lives in water, and when they're ready, they go to the surface and they get wings and they fly off, and the flyers kept seeing their friends and family disappear up and go off somewhere else. So they said, look, when it's your turn, you go up and come back down and tell me. But once they got the wings, they couldn't pass back through the barrier of the water, so they just couldn't. It doesn't explain why some people seem to come back.
But it's an interesting concept, because when Deborah Davis came around, the spiritualist medium, she said something that I was quite intrigued in, and it I think a lot of people say, why do you never see modern ghosts? And she mentioned that actually there's a lot of older people, if you talk back to days where people really follow religion, don't get me wrong, people do now, but 100 years ago, 200 years ago, everybody followed a religion.
Yes.
It was a thing. Everybody followed one, and they were strict about it. So if they, for instance, she mentioned it, that if you stole an apple, you'd be worried if you died, you'd be worried to pass over to the other side because of being judged.
Judgment, yeah.
Whereas now, I don't think people would be as bothered.
Not much of that.
They'd probably just go, I'm going to pass over, I'll pass over, I'm not too worried about it.
That's it. I think the feeling of consequences beyond aren't as really sort of driven into our sort of principles as much.
No.
And we don't really sort of have those sort of devout beliefs.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between right and wrong and sinning.
Yes.
Probably the best way to put it.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, for those people in those times, there's
Stealing
a constant threat of hell, isn't there? No matter what you're doing, like,
They used
to do nothing.
Yeah, they used to hang people for setting fire. I went to the prison down in Bodmin jail. They used to hang people for like setting fire to a hay bale.
Yeah.
Stuff like things. Not that I'd go out and set fire to a hay bale, by the way. I'm just saying it's like taking a life for that is just crazy.
Yeah, it seems
That's
extreme, doesn't it?
The punishment seems to really outweigh the crime, doesn't it? Yeah, 100%. By today's standards, anyway. But back then, it was probably like, you set fire to a hay bale? You're fucking dead, man. What the hell are you doing?
You're done.
So,
Before we on, I wanted to mention, because you just reminded me with saying about your granddad and the Ouija board, but just wanted to touch on, because Brett's got his own story, which I'll let him tell, but it's to do with the coins.
Okay.
And it's a part of your books that I found really interesting.
Fascinating.
And to my mind, that's a sort of physical piece of evidence for a supernatural world. And so for that reason, I found it fascinating. So again, I'd rather people read your books and found out about it, but if you could briefly summarise what I mean by the coins incidents.
To briefly summarise it, we kept experiencing a 1 cent American coin appearing. To put it in perspective, it's another week of madness. One appeared on a Friday night on the bedroom floor. You've noticed my house is quite tidy. When I knew you guys were coming round, I did whip the hoover around and stuff, but the house is quite a tidy house to say we've got a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
There's nothing ever on any floors anywhere. But I went to bed that particular night. There was a 1 cent coin in the centre of the carpet. It's quite a thick pile of carpet in the bedroom. So I saw it and thought, what the hell's that? Picked it up, 1 cent American coin dated 2014. This is the logical side of my brain saying, check the date on it. You're investigating something, check the date on it. I put it in my bedside table, and the next night, Saturday night, I went in there again into the bedroom, started getting dressed. Same spot on the carpet, 1 cent American coin, 2014. Check the top drawer, no coins in there, so I assume it's the same one. It might not have been. I assume it's the same one. And then so that was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I hoovered all the house because I was concerned I would find another coin on the floor when I went to bed that night. It was just freaking me out a little bit. Why is this happening? So I'm walking up the stairs, and middle of the staircase, after I'd hoovered everything and gone to go to bed, was a 1 cent American coin dated 2014. It got weirder to the stage where one got thrown at me while I was in the shower. That for me was huge because I hadn't had a lot of physical things actually happen to me. The knives, I turned up after they were in the floor.
Yeah.
I've seen a door handle downstairs, which I've written about in the first book. Saw that with my own eyes. That can't happen unless someone physically exerts pressure on it. I get that. But when that coin hit me, I was thinking about the coin because it had happened for 3 nights on the bounce, finding it. And I was in the shower thinking about it the next morning. There's nobody else in the room with me. And it hit me on the calf with such a force, it actually stung a little bit. And you've seen how small the bathroom is. It's not a big bathroom. There's a bath in there and a sink and a toilet. That's about it. But yeah, to hear the metal clink after it hit me and then look down and pick it up and I think it's the same coin. It's got the same date on it. Very strange. And we've had coins appearing since as well, not just American coins, Spanish coin we've had appear. So, yeah, it's happened quite a few times now.
Now that you mentioned the coin, like that sounded like a coin dropping.
It did actually.
Now that you think about it,
have a look on the floor in there.
We'll have to have a look in a bit, won't we? But
there's definitely nothing on the floor earlier because I hoovered up.
Yeah. Well, I didn't see anything when we went in there earlier, but it actually sounded a bit like a coin, didn't it?
I suppose it did.
Yeah.
It's like a metal clink sound.
That's it. Yeah. It was a metallic clink, but now I think about it, it sounded like a coin just.
Yeah, it could have been.
So,
you have to check that out.
Yeah, but it was funny because we was talking about this when we went for food before we came here. But like when we went on like a ghost tour thing, and there was like a medium there, and I'd been on the Ouija board again.
And he was quite wacky, wasn't he?
He was a bit eccentric. Yeah, he was a bit eccentric to say the least. Bless him. He was nice though. Yeah. But he'd overheard me talking because my granddad had come through on the Ouija board again, and I was a bit emotional. I had a really close relationship with my granddad.
Yeah.
And as I was a bit, and I think he saw that I was a bit sort of upset, not sad, but it was emotional. And he came up to me and he said, "Was it your granddad that came through again?" And I said, "Yeah, it was." And he sat me down and he said, "He watches you, you know." And I was like, "Yeah, I kind of feel like he is always watching me." He went, "You don't sleep very well, do you?" And I don't. I wake up a lot in the night. Yeah. I have terrible broken sleep.
Yep.
And but again, mediums. I thought, well, being the age that I am, I'm 40. We go to toilet a couple of times in the night. It's not particularly unusual to say that I would have a solid night's sleep. So I didn't really put much stock in that.
Yep.
He said, "Oh, he watches you, and he don't like that you don't sleep well." And I was just like, well, I'm a bit like my dad, really. I try and laugh most things off with a bit of humour. Sort of. I was like, oh, it's nice to know he's there, but a bit creepy he's watching me while I sleep. And I was sort of like tried to have a bit of laugh about it, but he just stayed deadly serious. And he just went, he's tried to let you know that he's there. And I said, oh, okay. And he said, that coin that you found, you didn't know where it came from, did you? And I was like, holy shit. So I went, which I'll tell you in a sec. And I just went, no. And he went, he left it there. And it was just to let you know that he's there.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, okay. And the reason it sort of shocked me was, because then he went, it was a 5p piece, wasn't it? And I was like, yeah, it was. But then again, like the logical thing, I thought, well, a 5p, it's the smallest coin, it's a piece of shit, it always turns up in your pocket or whatever, doesn't it? And it's the easiest one to drop and all the rest of it. And I just didn't really think much to it. But then me and Charlotte do not carry cash. We're completely cashless.
Yeah.
I hate having it. I pay everything on Apple Pay, because I can do any amount with that, so I never need cash.
Yep.
And we're both the same. And I remember one day walking into the bedroom, and at the foot of the bed, there was this 5p coin just on the floor. And it sort of threw me off guard that much to see me having money for a start. But to actually have physical cash as well, because I was just like, why is there a 5p on the carpet? Because we don't have money. And I can't remember the last time I actually held money in my hand unless I was at work. And I was just like, that's really weird that that's there. And I don't know why, because this sounds like a really slobbish thing to do, but I didn't pick it up. I left it there because it kind of threw me off that much.
It's not good for your luck, that.
Well, I know. No wonder I never have any money. So I just kind of thought, I'm going to leave that there because I don't know why that's there. And I know that sounds like really strange logic, but I was just like, no, I'm going to leave it there. And it was there for a few days afterwards. Like, even Charlotte didn't pick it up.
Yeah.
And in the end, I did pick it up. And I said to Charlotte, I was like, where did this come from? And she went, I've been meaning to ask you that as well, because I don't know. Because I ain't had cash in as long as I can remember. And I was like, me neither. And then obviously he told me that. And when I told Charlotte, when I got home, I mean, it was the next day, she just went, oh my God. And every now and then, since then, 5p's just appear.
Randomly appear.
And I even showed you that I've got 2 in the cup holder of my car, because I've found one in my car before, in my footwell of my driver's seat. Again, I don't carry cash. And another one has been like just randomly on the floor in the house before. And since then, I've just been convinced that the reason they are there is because it's him letting me know that he's there. The only thing I don't understand is, why don't you leave £20 notes?
Exactly, yeah.
Tight bastard.
I wish.
It's like, that'd be better. But there you go. But it's a strange thing with the coins. And,
it fascinates me, especially. There are a lot of spiritualist people. I was searching online saying, why am I finding American coins in my house in the UK? And a lot of spiritualist people are saying it's somebody's going to visit you from the States.
Yeah.
And the interesting bit of that is, my very, very good friend lived here for 4 years and was coming back to introduce me to his partner.
Crazy. That's so
within
bizarre.
the week, and to stop here. So it was weird that week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible.
The coin thing is really strange, isn't it? It's like, it does seem to be a sign that someone's there. And
Yeah.
I think I've got one of them in the kitchen. I might let you have a look at that before you
Yeah, no, that'd be cool.
might have been thrown around, didn't it?
Yeah, it might be the one
Might
that's
be that one
but we're just going to sort of like come to the end of the sort of paranormal stretch now. But I think I'm going to ask you a question, and the question is if you could ask the presence, whatever it is that's here, one question, and you could guarantee that it would be listening, and you would get a clear and obvious answer from whatever you was going to ask, what would you ask and why?
Crikey. That is a good question. I could have done with more time to think about this.
I should have prepped you with that. I should have prepped you. I mean,
there's so many things that I would want to ask. And the weird thing is, when I did this, so when we had microphones set in the house and I went and sat outside and was asking questions, you ask so many and then you get to a stage where you're like, there's so much more I want to ask, but I can't think what I want to ask. I suppose I'd want to know what everyone wants to know. Is there such thing as life after death?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really good question. I think.
But then that's a
Because if you've only
risky
got
one.
one question...
If you've only got the one, that's a risky one, because there's a theory that ghosts don't know that they're dead, and they're just going about their lives as they used to.
It's ghosts and spirits, and it's spirits
Yeah,
do
exactly,
and ghosts
that's
don't.
it.
Yeah, it's
So you might ask that question and be like, I've no idea, I'm not dead.
Shit, I'm wasting my question. Yeah.
So yeah, I suppose that's probably what I'd go for. But I think if you're looking more tunnel vision, I'd be wanting to ask how many spirits are in the house.
Yeah. That's a good one.
It's a good question as well, isn't it? Especially because there's been so much activity
And
with
different stuff.
with varying types of activity. Yeah, exactly. And I
The
think
woman's been seen, the footsteps definitely aren't a dainty old woman. The slamming the knives, and the man's voice, the cough sounded male to me.
yeah,
That was in my ear. So I'd want to know how many spirits, I think.
by all means, if you want a little bit more time to think about that and something comes into your head, just drop me a message. and I'll edit I'll edit it in at the end, and I'll just say, actually, you had another question. But yeah, I think sometimes, like when you've had a chance to think about these things come to your head and you're like, actually, I had that. But yeah, so if you do think of it, just let me know. Just let me know.
Okay.
But,
I appreciate that, bro.
Yeah, no, you're all right. So you obviously said about like the book raised significant funds for charity, and obviously that's going to have drawn some public attention to the story and the house. Has that like affected your life much? You know, just as how much has it really sort of impacted your day to day? Do you still feel like you just go to work 9 to 5?
Yeah, we have. The people who I work with have a bit of a giggle about this every now and again, because we can't get through a meeting without somebody mentioning it.
Really?
So they'll be like, "Oh, I had 10 minutes, I had 15," and like that. They've got a sweepstake on it for every meeting. It's because people always want to bring it up, but it's great because people want to talk about it. People want to talk about the unknown.
Yes.
People are interested in it, and hence why you guys are doing a podcast about it.
Yeah.
People love it. And I find it fascinating myself, and I like when people question me, hence you're here questioning me about it now. I like being asked questions about it because it sometimes brings stuff out that you think, well, actually, that's interesting. It's an interesting thesis on it, or whatever.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of where I'm at with that.
And we've found out since we've started this podcast, I mean, we're only newly starting out with it, but I've had a lot of people approach me and Brett, who are people who if we had to guess, we would have said they would have had no interest whatsoever in this sort of things. And not just coming forward and saying, we like the podcast, but we've had some people who I never would have imagined, coming and saying, actually, I've got a story for you, I'll tell you.
Brilliant. I love that.
And I think the more you do look into this, everybody enjoys that. Everybody enjoys that, sitting around telling creepy stories. Which, like I always say, was the genesis for the idea of us doing this. Because it's something we've done for years.
That's it. I mean, we've always enjoyed talking about the paranormal, and then we had that night, and you just turned around to me, didn't you? And you was just like, I enjoyed that night so much when we were just telling scary stories to each other. Like, why don't we do a podcast? I was like,
brilliant.
It's a really good idea.
Good ideas. Come on.
Yeah, you know, and it was crazy. But again, it's because you find more and more there are people who do enjoy it, but maybe they're worried, like you said, about just putting the book out there and things like that. You're always worried that like there's just going to people who are going to turn around and go,
ridicule you.
Idiot.
I think it's quite hard for people to ridicule me about the fact that you've done a book for a cancer charity. It's very hard for people to ridicule you.
That's it. It's almost like, be very careful about what you say.
But don't get me wrong, as I said to you before, there are still people who will read the book. Like I say, 85% of people give you a 5-star, but there are people that will still read it, even though it's for charity. Every penny goes to charity from it, and give you a 1-star review.
I don't get it.
It's just madness.
Don't get it.
But
I don't really understand that. Because if it's not your subject, don't read the book or don't review it just based on, well, it's just not my cup of tea. You know?
Yeah.
Like if I read a book about a subject that I'm not particularly interested in,
Submarines.
Not uninteresting, aren't they?
Yeah.
X-Men.
Well,
Sorry, Brett, I know you
calm
like
down.
it. But
What's the point in that? Just
for
stick with
me,
submarines.
absolutely ridiculous. I like submarines. And I wouldn't enjoy it at all. So I just wouldn't read it. I wouldn't read it and then say, oh, that was crap.
But I wouldn't mind if
Because
they
it's
gave
probably good.
even gave you a critique to say why it's bad.
Yeah,
Which
just
you don't
just-
get.
yeah.
You just get somebody going 1 star.
Yeah.
What?
Why even bother? I don't get
Yeah.
it. You know,
But no, it's not changed. In answer to your question, it's not really changed my day to day. Like, other than the fact I'm really busy with doing the audiobook and stuff at the minute and that sort of stuff. And I do check. One thing that I'm immensely proud of is how much it's raised. So every day, without fail, pretty much as I get in bed, I go on and I check. You can look how much money it's raised that day.
Yeah.
And I always look at that every day.
amazing.
And it's quite nice to go, ooh.
Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah.
good. And well, you should. It's absolutely fantastic.
No,
Yeah.
that is really, really good. That is really, really good. I mean, also, like, as we were just talking there, like, as we sort of like look into the future now, anybody who follows your Instagram and Facebook, you'll see that you're actually working on a stage show. And you've obviously mentioned the podcast already.
Yeah.
So can you tell us just a little bit about these projects and how these stories are going to translate into these mediums and what audiences can expect?
Of course. So yeah, we've got a stage show that starts in January. It's sold out in Sheffield in 3 days.
Oh, wow.
Crazy.
It's the fastest they've ever sold out a show at that theatre, which
Amazing.
is just
That's
mad.
incredible.
So cool.
Absolutely mad. But that shows again how much people love the paranormal.
Yeah,
They do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it sold out in 3 days. We sold out both the nights there within 6 days. Then we've sold out 2 nights in Barnsley in Feb, and we've got 2 nights in March. The first one's pretty much sold out at a large theatre called Penistone Paramount, which is 340-seater.
Wow.
It's pretty much sold out on the first night, but we've still got Mother's Day, so March the 15th. There are tickets available there, only because we had issues with the website link. But yeah, the theatre show is all based on book 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's stories from book 1, and it's basically we've got a full theatrical cast of 15 people that are bringing the whole story to life on stage. So there will be a bit of Yorkshire humour in there,
Excellent.
but also the scare factor as well of being involved in those moments and sort of bringing them to life on stage as to what happened. I've been going to all the rehearsals, sat there with these 2 playwrights that are brilliant. One of which is he does stand-up comedy, and the other lad's a playwright, and they work really well together. So it's coming along really well. If it's half as good as it is at the rehearsal, it will be brilliant.
Great. Well, let's hope to see it at the Hull Trunk Theatre.
Yeah.
Hopefully one day. we'll
Yeah,
get
that would be
there.
awesome. That would be
That'd be
awesome.
cool. But it's amazing that it's got to that stage. And I find it surreal watching that happen. Even at the rehearsals and stuff, I'm sat there going, somebody playing me.
Yeah, exactly.
And my mate, and
Yeah,
just mad.
When you walk in, is it almost like people walk in and go, "That's him. That's William Seagraves." You know?
Because they're all love the cast are great, and they're a really good cast, and getting to know them all and stuff fantastic throughout the different weeks.
Yeah.
But we're doing our first full run through again on Monday, tomorrow.
Great.
Nice. Awesome.
yeah.
Well, maybe we'll have to see about go and see it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, come
Yeah.
to Penistone.
Yeah, yeah.
There's still tickets available on Mother's Day.
Yeah,
Cool.
It
that'd
is
be good.
Mother's Day.
Oh well, maybe
Well,
I'll bring my
still
mum
tickets.
as well.
Yeah,
You
do
can
it.
Bring yours.
Yeah.
She'll love it.
Do it. Be great. Be a
Yeah.
good day out.
No, it'd be fantastic. I mean, you said that the plan is to sort of carry on telling the story through the podcast. Have you
Yeah.
sort of thought of any other sort of ventures, maybe like documentaries? Have you thought about anything like that?
Yes, and I've had many a conversation with, believe it or not, Blumhouse, for instance.
Oh, they can never wait to get on anything.
They were in touch with me after the first book came out, and about I had 3 or 4 very surreal meetings with their producers and directors and things on Zoom. But then the writer's strike hit, and
Yeah.
the whole world blew up.
It's so much harm, didn't it, really?
Did.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
The whole world blew up, and you lost sort of 3 years of cinema, didn't you?
Yeah. that's it.
But the conversations are still going on there. I've also got there's a film director who's actually coming to the play in Barnsley in February, flying in from Guernsey to come and see me. He seems a really good guy. We've had a few chats, and I'd like to see, he wants to do a feature film with it.
Right, that'd be cool.
Well, that'd be really interesting, I guess, from that point of view, is that to then go and see how it plays out on stage.
Yeah, exactly.
It will be a pretty decent indicator of how it would play out in film, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I suppose the one big thing that's different with the stage is we've had to adapt it slightly for stage with regards like the first scene of pulling up outside the house in a car.
Yeah.
It's not going to be that. It's going to be walking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be walking on the stage and saying, bloody hell, these hills and that sort of stuff. So you've got to adapt it slightly for stage, whereas if it was a film, it's...
Yeah, you can do it as is.
You can do it as is.
Well, I mean, even some
and
of
they
the
could get me to do the CGI as well, because I'm so good at
it. Nice. Oh, I hope he's listening. What Ben? That's great. I love it.
I'd be so gutted if I saw the credit roll and it said CGI. Like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
It was him all along.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I love it. Yeah, but you know what I mean? Even like not that this isn't a fantastic story, but I'm talking about some of the most incredibly fantastic stories, which are really quite unbelievable. Even they get dramatised and things get changed. So for there to be some slight changes, just for it to be interpreted onto a stage, I don't know, no one's going to sort of like turn around and go, "That's not what happened in the book. I'm going." That's just not going to happen, is it? So I think that's perfectly, ordinary. So I mean, you mentioned about like that there isn't another book planned as such. You're hoping to sort of carry it on through the podcast, but do you think you'd ever maybe sort of have the writing of the book outsourced collaboratively with someone and maybe sort of create like a more comprehensive a mixture of both book 1 and 2? And
You've read my mind. So I had a quite a lot. One of the big 5 publishers contacted me last month, and they want to make it into one book.
Well,
And I'm currently in conversations with them about that, but they wanted, as part of it, they want me to do a 30,000 word amendment to make it one book, but add the chapters in that I've got.
Right.
So it'll be one big massive book.
Yeah.
If you bear in mind, I think the second book's 42,000 words. They want a 30,000 amendment, and I said that will take me
almost right in the book.
That will
again,
take me a year and a half.
You're gonna write
of
a
my
book
time.
Again?
Yeah.
So.
You might as well just write Lady in the Bay Window 3.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. So that's kind of where I'm at conversation-wise with them at the minute. But they want to buy the rights to everything with it, with book 1 and book 2.
Right.
So can't tell you who that is because I'm still in conversation with.
No. That's cool. That's cool. You know,
but it's interesting having conversations with these people. It's very surreal. The whole thing is mega surreal because I never imagined any of this happening. And even more surreal was going in Waterstone for a book signing the other week. And on the next table, there are only 4 authors in there doing like a Christmas meet the author thing. On the next table to me was my old English teacher.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
And he said, I know you from somewhere. I went, yeah, you used to be my English teacher. And he went, did I? What, and you've written a book? So he was like really proud. And I went, yeah, but you thought I was shy with it.
This is nothing to do with you, pal. Yeah. This is nothing to do with you. You don't get any credit. This is all because I've been haunted.
The last thing you will ever be is a writer.
He was a lovely bloke, to be fair, and he still was. He was a right nice bloke, so I got on really well with him. I had a good chat with him. It's very surreal being on the next table.
Yeah, that's really nice.
I bet.
Funny.
Yeah,
Nice
100%. Yeah.
That's a testament to your writing, though, because you've sat here a couple of times and said I'm not a writer, but they are unduly short books. But I read them really quickly.
Because I think it's the short, snappy chapters.
It probably is.
So it's easy to pick it up and read one tonight. I'll read one tonight, and then you think, actually, I'll read another couple.
Yeah,
but they are well written. It's not just the fact that they're short. They are well written. I mean, I never felt like, I'm having to fill in the gaps a little bit here with my imagination. They are well written, so you can't take that away in the sense that, it's just that they're good because they're just short chapters. They are well written short chapters.
Yeah,
I appreciate
that. I never felt like I had to do any of the work to understand what was going on in any of those events. They are written in such a way that I was like, I can tell exactly what's going on here, and you're describing their fear, your fear. I feel it, they are well written chapters.
But I suppose for me, that seems pretty simplistic because it's stuff that's happening around me and around my friends who I can talk to and say, how did you feel then?
Yeah.
Tell them what you felt like. So all I'm doing is that to interview them. I suppose you don't interview your friends, do you? Chat to your friends.
Yeah.
But chatting to my mates and saying, Like, what's happened? How did you feel? Exactly. Tell me this. Da, da, da. And obviously describing the house is easy because I've been here 21 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But still,
yeah.
you've done a really good job
Thank you.
of translating that into text format that is easy and fun to read.
Good.
And it certainly does exactly what it's supposed to do. You know. So,
Thanks, gents.
for any finally, in terms of questions, finally for listeners who might be curious or afraid, or maybe both. What piece of advice would you give to somebody who believes they live in a haunted house?
Ooh. Good question. Piece of advice from me is possibly different to what you'd hear from everybody else, is go and find out what that noise is.
Yeah.
I can't wait to go in the kitchen and see if we can find a coin on the floor.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is, I mean, it's very shortly we can, and we'll leave the microphones on because the microphones are on us. We can walk around with them.
Yeah.
So we'll go and have a look shortly. But yeah, I think that's good advice.
Go towards it. Don't run away unless it's a chainsaw or something like that. Then go the other way. But no, in general, if you hear footsteps or you hear a door go, because a lot of the time there can be a logical explanation for it. So don't just sit there and think, "Oh, that's paranormal. That's happened last night," and then go and tell everyone that this is paranormal. It happened last night or whatever. Go and find out what it is. And have a look round.
Yeah. No, I think that's good advice.
Yeah,
that's good advice, because if you don't look and you don't check, you'll always wonder,
Was it
or wasn't it, or am I just making it up and imagining it's a ghost?
Yeah.
What if it could just be something really mundane, and pedestrian, couldn't it?
Agree.
So yeah. So, I mean, as we discussed at the start of the episode, these books were dedicated to the memory of your late mum.
Yes.
And she was an incredibly invaluable part of the behind-the-scenes development of the book, wasn't she?
Yes. Yeah, massively. Yeah.
I mean, I can honestly say and share the sentiment you wrote in your book that indeed she would be incredibly proud of what the book has accomplished and what you've accomplished, and I'm sure in whatever way she can and wherever she is, she's watching over and she's enjoying in those special family moments wherever she can. And for what it's worth, through the limited time we've had with you and getting to know you before the episode and during the time we've been here, I think it goes without saying that both me and Lee are very proud of what you've accomplished and achieved with your book, because it must be congratulated, because not just to write one book but two.
Yeah.
And you know, for the first to have raised an incredible sum of money and continues to do so for such a fantastic cause. You know, you should be proud of yourself.
Thank you.
You really should. So
I really appreciate that.
No problem at all. But writing the book and coming forward to share your experiences in a field where, as we've said many times now, most people would rather not talk about it through fear of reprisals or ridicule, but still insisting on doing so and then raising that kind of money. I think it's a real testament to you. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
People who want to follow the past, present, and future of The Lady in the Bay Window, you've got a number of sources of being able to do so. They can do so on your Instagram, which is at The Lady in the Bay Window. Your Facebook, which is The Lady in the Bay Window, William C. Grave. That's right, isn't it?
Correct, yeah.
And you've also got a website, which is nice and easy, www.theladyinthebaywindow.com.
Correct.
And what would you say are the easiest places that people can pick your book up?
If you go on Amazon, you can find it on Amazon. You can find it in Waterstones or online at waterstones.com, or eBay. So Amazon's probably the simplest place to get it. But if you go to theladyinthebaywindow.com, you can get both copies through that. It'll take you straight through to Amazon anyway.
Nice.
And there's the theatre tickets on there as well.
Yes.
You get those. But get those quick because they are selling out very fast.
I think we should do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to do that, don't we?
You will enjoy it. Trust me. You will enjoy that. It'll be a good night.
No, we'll do that. So, I mean, thank you for having us and letting us be a tiny part of this incredible story. It's been an amazing experience, hasn't it?
Absolutely. Fantastic.
And allowing us to come here. I mean, I never, we said it at the start, I didn't even think you'd reply, to be honest with you, but to reply and then allow us to be here. You've been nothing but gracious in having us.
Come round.
Yeah,
Come round,
honestly,
see it for yourselves.
I couldn't believe it when I read it. I was just like, "Is this guy serious?" it was incredible. So honestly, thank you so much.
Really, thank you.
I think, shall we, before we do the final wrap up, shall we go and have a look in the kitchen?
Yes, you can edit it how you want.
Well, we can have a look.
Should. Well, I hoovered earlier, so I know there's nothing. Well, there should be nothing on the floors, under the table, everything I hoovered. So there should be nothing.
Yeah, when after you said it, Brett, it's like it could have been that, couldn't it? The sound.
Just can't.
Sink croaked after, is there? No. Yeah, it did sound like a metallic clink, although that's on. Would that make that noise?
The slow cooker, sometimes they click as they change temperature, don't they?
Possibly, could. See, that's me being logical.
Yeah. No, but it's true though, because I mean, when we've left our slow cooker on overnight, sometimes I hear it clicking on and off. Yeah. But it sounded louder than that.
I think so.
It sounded louder than that.
Okay.
I mean, ours doesn't click, so I don't really know what it sounds like. But
and also, that's been on that entire time.
It's been on all day. I think it was been on last night. I can't wait to eat that, actually. Is that my tea? That'd be my tea.
But the fact that that's been on that entire time and we've only heard it that once, it's a bit strange, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, we've not heard it before or since.
Had that fallen over before?
What's that?
Ooh.
Don't know. What noise does it make when it goes down?
Okay, so this is where I'm going to cut in, because now we didn't actually find anything in the kitchen that we believe could have made the sound that you just heard, but we did pick up a lot of other sounds using a recorder which we set at the top of the stairs when we got to number 333. Now, this was in agreement with Liam. We asked if in advance we could leave a voice recorder at the top of the stairs while we interviewed him, just to see if passively we could pick up any sounds. And the reason for this is because anyone who's read the books or anything like that, we know that there has been a lot of footsteps and things like that heard on the stairs, on the landing, and upstairs in general. Now, as you'll know from the interview that you've just listened to, is a semi-detached house, and on the side of the house where there is a neighbouring house, it is empty. I can 100% say that this is the case. There was no one else in the house other than me, Lee, and Liam, and some of the noises that you're going to hear are very, very strange. Some of them will all sound very, very similar, but I have just left them in there so that you know and have heard absolutely everything that was covered. The recording was about 3 hours 45 minutes because it was recording from the minute we walked through the door to the minute we left. So in all, there was probably maybe about 4 minutes worth, if that, of sounds that we captured in that time. But obviously you're going to hear these sounds twice because I'm going to present them as the raw audio that we captured, as well as followed by a sort of cleaned up version of it, which will remove some of the white noise. So the sounds will be a little clearer, but I want you to hear it as the voice recorder recorded it, should I say, and as an edited version, which will sort of clean it up a little bit. But sometimes there are sounds in the raw audio version which you can't hear otherwise. So it's very, very interesting, and I'm really looking forward to listening to it and tell us what you think. You're going to hear clicks, thumps, thuds. We've got theories on what some of those things can be, but I'm not going to say what they are until you've heard it and the episode is out there. Also, I'd really like it if you could tell us some of your thoughts and feelings about what these are, either in the comments to the episode or on the Facebook page group that we have. And you can share some of your thoughts on there, because that would be great if you could, because we'd love to hear your theories and potentially debunk some of these things, because Liam has listened to all of these before we put them into the episode, just in case he could turn around and say, oh yeah, I know what that is, don't worry about that, you will hear that, blah blah blah. There are some things which we did edit out, which we knew what they were, like you could hear an air freshener going off every so often, which is obviously on a timer, so we instantly knew what they were. But anything else has been left in there because although we have some ideas on what they are, we know for a fact that those sounds shouldn't be being made, and we feel that they are potentially paranormal. So anyway, you've heard me ramble on for long enough. I'm sure you just want to hear them. Again, a lot of them will sound very, very similar, and you'll probably think to yourself, am I stuck in a loop? But please just bear with me. Some of them are extraordinary, but just listen to them. And again, you will hear the same sound twice. You'll hear it as the raw audio and then a cleaned up version of it where it'll remove the white noise and it may be a little clearer. I do advise listening to this part with headphones and try and turn the volume up. I have tried to make it as loud as I can anyhow, but yeah, you probably will feel a benefit for doing that. So anyway, let's crack on, enjoy, and let me know what you think. don't know why. And I was and I don't know why. And in the end, and in the end, thank you very, very thank you very, very As always, we are looking for your stories, listeners. If you have an encounter with something paranormal, supernatural, unexplained, or anything which lives beyond the veil, no matter how big or small, you can reach us by messaging us on Instagram at Beyond the Veil the Podcast, Facebook, Beyond the Veil Podcast, or by emailing your story at btv, as in Beyond the Veil, podcaststories@gmail.com. We're more than happy to accept your stories with total anonymity, if you so please. So just don't be afraid to share your stories, because we really can't wait to hear them. But in the meantime, obviously we couldn't find anything in the kitchen that was blatantly obvious of what it could be, but who knows, when I review the audio, you never know, do you? So, but for the time being, we're going to say goodbye. So it's goodbye from the ghosts and spirits what are here, if they are here. Goodbye from Liam.
Yeah, goodbye. Thank you ever so much for having me on your podcast. It's been a real pleasure, gents, so thank you.
Honestly,
Thank you.
the pleasure's all ours. It really is. Thank you so much. Goodbye from Lee.
Goodbye.
And goodbye from me. But in the meantime, number 333 from the outside may seem like any other house, standing silently day and night, but inside, the veil trembles. And here, a bay window isn't just a view. Sometimes it's a window into something else. We've heard Liam's stories, we've felt his fear and seen his courage. Thank you, Liam, for letting us look beyond your veil. And until next time, keep an eye on the shadows when we hope you will join us once again beyond the veil.